Le des lanceurs était très fier de lui, de même que Jeff Torborg. Hier, les Expos avaient pris les devants 5-0, mais en sixième, Mackie Sasser frappe un simple dans la droite et Larry Walker lance une prise à Darren Fletcher qui retire Dave Gallagher. Fletcher se relève et là, c'est Sasser qui prend souricière entre le deuxième et le premier. Et Wallach remet à Fletcher pour doubler Willie Randolph. Un double jeu assez inusité. Et en huitième manche, Chris Nabholz a donné une chance aux Expos en lançant la balle au champ droit. Une erreur était débitée au joueur de troisième but. Et ça a permis à Rick Cerrone de contourner les buts et de venir marquer. Les Expos l'emportaient 8-6. Hi, this is Claude Raymond. Stay tuned for today's ball game between the Mets and the Expos. Ralph, Tim, and Bob will bring you the game on WWOR Channel 9.
From Olympic Stadium in Montreal, today the Mets take on the Montreal EXPOS. Mets Baseball 92 is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. By Dodge, come rediscover American value at your local tri-state Dodge dealer, where it's advantage Dodge. By the New Jersey Bell Yellow Pages. No other book can match it. New Jersey Bell, a Bell Atlantic company. By Macy's. We're a part of your life. By the United States Postal Service. Proud to be an official sponsor of the 1992 Olympic Games. By New Advanced Formula Mobile One. And by AT&T, proud sponsor of the 1992 U.S. Olympic team. Pitching for the Mets this afternoon, Sid Fernandez. Sid trying to get on track. He's 0-2, a 10.50 earned run average. And for the Expos, another left-hander, Chris Nabholz. He's 1-1, his earned run average 2.19.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Ralph Kiner, along with Tim McCarver and Bob Carpenter, all set for the final game of this three-game series with the Montreal Expos. Each team has won one, and the Mets have been doing a pretty good job in a few cases with their batting order and their hitting.
Offensively, they've been doing very well, and four guys in particular, that's four on the floor. It should be four off the floor, as Bobby Bonilla with 3 RBIs and a couple of doubles in his last 7 at-bats. Dave Gallagher, 6 RBIs in his last 4 games, and probably the hottest Met, Eddie Murray, 10 RBIs in his last 4 ball games. And Dick Schofield, since coming over, has hit in all 5 games, and he's been hot. So the offense has been doing very well, but yesterday that old bugaboo defense came up and bit the Mets.
Defense hurt, and also the Mets have an earned run average with their pitchers of 5 runs a ball game, and that has offset that offense to a great degree, and the Mets are under 500, but hoping to win the series against Montreal with a win here in today's ball game. We'll be right back with that ball game right after this message from Budweiser. Well, back here at the Big O in Montreal, a beautiful day outside. The temperature right around the lower 60s, but inside, of course, it's at about 70 degrees, and Chris Nabholz will be going against the Mets. He's 1-1 on the year. He's worked 12 1/3 innings, and he has an earned run average of 2.19. Chris Nabholz against the Mets.
And the Mets lineup is brought to you by your local Chevrolet Geo dealer. Willie Randolph leads it off, followed by Dick Schofield this afternoon. Bobby Bonilla, the right fielder, hitting 3rd. Howard Johnson in center hits 4th. Eddie Murray, as we said, has been hot with the RBIs. He'll bat 5th. Dave Gallagher in left batting 6th. Dave Magaden in at 3rd hitting 7th. Charlie O'Brien batting 8th. And Sid Fernandez, the pitcher, batting 9th.
And the leadoff batter, Willie Randolph, hitting .231 for the year. And the first pitch of this ball game, a fastball for ball 1. Nabholz Lifetime with 15 wins, 10 losses. Lifetime against the Mets, he's 2-3. That includes a one-hitter he pitched against the Mets back on September 20th, 1990. The Mets only hit a 6th-inning single by Tommy Herr in that ball game. And the pitch is taken for a ball, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Last year, Nabholz 8-7 as he works to Willie Randolph. Randolph without a hit in this series, hitting at .231. And that is ball 4. So the Mets get a base runner as their leadoff batter walks. The Mets, when they have scored the first run in the ball game, have a record of 5-0 this year. They have lost every game that they have played when they have not scored the first run. And on the other side of the coin, the Montreal Expos have not lost a game this year when they have played a day ball game.
It's really a game of first, isn't it, Ralph? I mean, if you get your leadoff batter on, of course, with nobody out, he has a chance to score 51% of the time. If there is one out, he has a chance to score 16% of the time. So the percentages are in striking first.
Tremendous difference in having that leadoff batter on. Of course, the other side of that coin is that when your second-place hitter is hitting with a man on and nobody out, all kinds of things can happen. You can hit and run, you can sacrifice, you can score. You can also move the runner from first to third on base hits. It makes an entirely different ball game. And Dick Schofield, a hot batter for the Mets, hitting .368. He's 7 for 19 since coming over from the American League. Randolph, no stolen bases. He does get some attention because the hit and run is certainly a point of order here. And again, the throw over to first base. The Mets have won once against Montreal, while the Expos have won 4 times this year. Last year, the Mets won 14 and lost only 4 to Montreal. And here in the Big O last year, the Mets won 6 of the 7 games played. 2 of them not played because this ballpark was condemned the better part of the last month of the season because of a concrete situation. And there is the bunt attempt for the base hit. They get the lead runner on what was not a sacrifice per se, but a bunt try for a base hit, and it didn't work.
That was a good play by Carter because he had to battle the bat, and when a catcher goes out on a bunt like this, you have a tendency to overrun the ball. Watch Gary throw to second base before shortstop Spike Owen was there. He was just throwing to the bag knowing that Owen was going to be there.
Carter playing more games behind the plate than any other catcher in the history of National League Baseball. That brings up Bobby Bonilla, and he takes the first pitch for a called strike.
This is Gary's 1960, make that 76th game, only behind Bob Boone and Carlton Fisk.
Boone with 2,225 games as a catcher, the most by any catcher. And Fisk with 2,147. Ground ball should be a double play. Spike Owen over to DeShields and on to first. And the double play, and so much for getting the first batter on base. A walk, a double play, no one left. The score at the end of 1/2 inning. The Mets nothing. Montreal coming up, and here's a word from U.S. Postal Express Mail Service. Sid Fernandez on the mound with a record of 0-2, a very high ERA of 10.50. He's pitched only 6 innings, given up 9 hits. And the left-hander going against Montreal with a lifetime record of 6-6 against the Expos.
The lineup for Montreal starts off with Delino DeShields, the fine athlete at second base. Spike Owen, the shortstop, will bat second. Ivan Calderon, the left fielder, hitting third. Larry Walker in right field, batting fourth. Now he's a left-handed hitter, and he's facing Sid Fernandez, the first time that he has hit fourth against a left-hander this year. Tim Wallach batting fifth. Center fielder Marquise Grissom led the National League in stolen bases last year with 76. He'll hit sixth. Gary Carter behind the plate batting seventh. Archie Cianfrocco, the third baseman, hitting eighth. And Chris Nabholz, the pitcher, batting ninth.
And the defense for the Mets, Gallagher, Johnson, and Bonilla in the outfield, left to right. Magaden, Schofield, Randolph, and Murray in the infield, third to first, and the catcher's O'Brien. as Delano DeShields steps into the batter's box. DeShields with 4 leadoff home runs in his major league career, and he takes the curveball for ball 1. Sid Fernandez starting off the game with a curveball. That's something that's rather unusual. Now back to the fastball, and it's drilled, but it's pulled foul. So DeShields trying to make it 5 home runs as a leadoff batter. He's done it once this year against the Cardinals. He also has an inside the park home run to go with his 2 home runs this year and 2 RBIs, hitting .333. And the fastball for ball 2, 2 balls and 1 strike. Sid Fernandez did not face Montreal last year. He had a record of 1-3, sidelined with a broken arm and then a bad knee. Lifetime, we mentioned 6-6. And a good fastball there, and it's 2-2.
Cheese to cheese right there. Fernandez challenging the very powerful Delano DeShields. A lot of strength in that small package.
And he is struck out. So DeShields goes down swinging, a halfway swing there. And Sid gets off to a good start. Sid ranked at the top of the list, not number 1, but in the top 5 in strikeouts per innings pitched in Major League history. The umpires for this game, Charlie Relaford behind home plate, Harry Wendelstedt at first, Randy Marks the umpire at second, and Dana DeMuth the umpire at third. Crew chief is Harry Wendelstedt. Now Spike Owen, the batter. Spike moved from the 8th place in the batting order to the 2nd for this final game of the 3-game series. He takes the fastball for ball 1. Spike hitting .156. He has a lifetime batting average against the Mets of .298.
That includes a lot of big hits, too, since coming over from the Red Sox.
And there's a pitch outside. He hit over 300 against the Mets in the '86 World Series. There's his average this year, 156, no home runs, 2 runs batted in. 2-0 the count as Fernandez works to the switch hitter, Sid Spike on. Sid gets it in there for a strike, 2-1. Fernandez with 6 strikeouts so far this year, and he comes back with a fastball. It's 2-2. Spike on, a candidate for being traded earlier this spring. The Mets were looking at a possible chance to pick him up, but then they got Dick Schofield instead. Fastball again. Count stays at 2-2 in the foul ball.
Trying to hit Fernandez is once described as Fernandez throwing uphill, and you're at the top of the hill as a batter and you're trying to get on top of the ball. Fernandez very, very difficult with that little peekaboo motion. Hitters look for the fastball, get it, but still can't catch up with it.
And there it is again. It goes to 3-2. Amazingly, Sid Fernandez is seldom clocked over 90 miles an hour, but the ball arrives there much faster than the hitter believes it will.
And that's the only thing that counts. Johnny Sain used to say pitching is the art of deceiving the hitter.
And he goes after ball 4, and it's fouled off.
You could almost see Owen on that swing saying, oh, I've got to get on top of it, and sure enough, he fouls it back. A lot of foul balls back the other way and straight back against Fernandez.
That's when you know Sid has good stuff, when they foul a lot of balls off. There you see him try to get the top hand on top of the left hand. And he did a pretty good job of doing it and did foul it. That pitch up around the letters from Sid Fernandez, very, very tough to hit. So again, the count 3-2. And the fastball for ball 4. So Spike Owen wins the battle, becomes the first base runner for the Montreal Expos, and that'll bring up Ivan Calderon. Calderon making a good living against the Mets, and especially against Saberhagen. Calderon with 8 runs batted in, and 5 of them against Saberhagen.
Ralph brought that up earlier about the earned run average of the pitching staff leading the National League. Conspicuous category, earned run average over 5.
And the fastball to Calderon is fouled away. Calderon, a 300 hitter last year, and he did it really basically at the end of the season when he couldn't play as a regular player. He was injured. He did pinch hit and did a good job to get his average right at 300 last year. So he's 100 points under last year's average. The 1 home run off Saberhagen. And 5 of the 8 RBIs off Saberhagen. There's a good fastball. The runner goes, a throw in time, and the slide by Owen evades the tag by Randolph. An excellent slide by Spike Owen.
And a late tag. And a late covering on the part of the middle infielders. It was a delay on the part of Owen. Looked like Spike was caught in between as to whether to run or not. And watch Randolph tag the dirt and not the hand. Now he gets him on the foot. But it looked like his other foot was there. Watch him drag that hand back. Boy, that is a terrific slide by Spike Owen. See, Willie had to wait for the swing to see if Calderon made contact. And because he didn't make contact, Randolph late in covering. And by being late in covering, his balance was a little off. He did stay with the tag, but that was a fine slide by Spike Owen.
His second stolen base of the year, the 9th in 13 attempts by Montreal. The Expos led the league in stolen bases last year. They're trailing this year. And a 2-strike pitch. Fastball for a ball, 1-2. Calderon, the top RBI man last year for Montreal, but not with a high mark. He had 75. And the 1-2 pitch and the fastball for ball 2, 2-2. That number worn by Calderon, his favorite number. He didn't have it when he joined the club last year. Santovenia had it. Calderon said, I want to buy it from you. I'll give you $1,000 for it. And Santovenia wouldn't sell it to him.
That's $500 a 2.
Yeah, and he said, well, I'll get it when you're sent down. And he was sent down, and he got the number. So Santovenia blew $1,000. And the fastball fouled back out of play.
You know, we talked about Spike Owen breaking from first base. It looked like he was caught in between, thinking the hit and run was on. Watch that delay right there. You see, he doesn't break right away. It's almost a delayed hit and run. Probably a delayed steal, and Calderon saw him running. He was trying to protect him. But then again, that fine slide by Owen. A very unusual thing, and that's one of the reasons that Randolph didn't cover quickly.
Yeah, he didn't see him go. Looked like they might have been a little mixed up at short and second on who was the cover in that play. And the off-speed pitch, the curveball, fouled off, so Calderon keeps the count at 2-2. Sid Fernandez with 1,184 strikeouts and 1,256 innings. The best strikeout ratio in baseball history, Nolan Ryan, who averaged over a strikeout an inning, 1.06 in his major league career, and he's still pitching, and it's fouled away again. Sandy Koufax is second in that department. Strikeout 1.03. Sam McDowell third at a strikeout less than 1 per inning. Then David Cohn, then Sid Fernandez. Major League history. Sid, of course, with an unusual record. He's only 79-64, even with that strikeout ratio. Now he goes to 3-2 on Calderon. Sid also in the top 2 in hits allowed per inning. fewest hits allowed per inning. Brian, the leader there, and then Sid is second. And the curve, and he gets it. That really crossed up Calderon as he was looking fastball on the 3-2 count.
Yeah, that's a good pitch by Sid Fernandez. Charlie O'Brien, you see how Charlie is sitting inside and the ball comes back outside? Usually you don't get that pitch. If the catcher's sitting inside and the ball is outside, or the other way around, if he's outside and the ball is inside, a catcher crosses the plate with his mitt. The ball may be a strike, but most umpires don't give it to them because a lot of umpires see it's outside and they're going by where the mitt is and they think it's outside. But Relaford really staying with that pitch. See how O'Brien crosses the plate with the mitt and he holds it there to give Relaford a good idea.
Now Larry Walker, the batter, and he takes a fastball for ball one. As Tim pointed out, Walker batting in the cleanup spot, even though a left-hand pitcher is on the mound. First time the series hit cleanup with a left-hander starting. Walker hitting .279, 2 home runs, 7 RBIs this year. And he had a torrid finish last year. In the second half of the season, he was the best hitter in the National League. Batted .338 with 10 home runs. Ended up at .290 for the year with 16 home runs. And a fastball for ball two, 2-0.
The one thing that impresses you about Charlie O'Brien, when he receives the ball, he's very absorbent as a catcher. He has very soft hands, and he holds the ball in the strike zone to give the umpire the best possible shot at the pitch. That's very, very important. You don't snatch behind home plate. You hold the ball. You absorb the pitches. You don't catch them. You absorb them.
O'Brien doing most of the catching here late with Todd Huntley down with the flu. There's another fastball for ball 3-0. On deck batter is a right-hand batter, the veteran Tim Wallach. So Walker with a 3-0 count, and you can figure that he'll be hitting away here. At least he should be. Runner at second, 2 men out. A chance to get a cripple pitch to hit hard. He takes it, it's in there for a called strike, 3-1. Walker, a native-born Canadian, and they're looking for him to be a bona fide star here with Montreal, and they hope he will be. Attract some fans. And it's ball 4, so 2 walks in the inning, runners now at first and second. Also 2 strikeouts for the 2 outs, and that'll bring up Tim Wallach. Wallach hitting .300 so far this year. He had a drastic drop-off last year. He dropped off 71 points off of his 1990 average last year when he hit .225 with only 13 home runs. He has 195 home runs in his major league career and 333 two-base hits. All-time leader in doubles for Montreal. And he needs just 12 hits to tie Tim Raines for the most hits ever by a Montreal Expo player. And it's hit high in the air to shallow center field. Howard Johnson in center. That retires aside. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 left. And the score at the end of 1. The Mets nothing and the Montreal Expos nothing. And here's a word from Sharp. Howard Johnson will lead it off for the Mets. Top of the second, no score. Howard 0 for 7 in this series. Each team has won 1 game of this 3-game series. The first pitch by Chris Nabholz is a fastball for ball 1. Johnson hitting .163 so far this year with 1 home run, 5 RBIs. And the off-speed pitch is swung on and missed. 1-1. Johnson, a great year last year, led the league in home runs. 38. Also led the league in RBIs with 117. The first switch hitter to ever lead the National League in runs batted in. And the second switch hitter to ever lead the National League in home runs. Rip Collins for the St. Louis Cardinals. The old Gas House gang back in 1934 led the league in home runs as a switch hitter.
And we talked about it before. Howard was the first New Yorker to lead either the American League or National League in home runs and RBI since Roger Maris did it back in 1961 when he broke Babe Ruth's record.
61 home runs in 61. And Howard Johnson, the first strikeout victim.
Let me ask you something I just thought about. Do you think that Roger Maris would be in the Hall of Fame right now had Ford Frick not imposed that asterisk on Roger until several years ago? I mean, that's something to think about, because it was the scourge of breaking Babe Ruth's record. And you put that asterisk by it, and I think the voters were influenced by that asterisk.
Got a good point, because it was a difference of 154-game season to 162. And Ford Frick, who was the commissioner at that time, put an asterisk in the book saying it really wasn't a new record because of the fact that he had the extra games. And I think that probably did influence some of the writers who vote. Only the sports writers who qualify for the Baseball Writers Association can vote for the Hall of Fame. No one else.
In my opinion, that was one of the dumbest decisions ever made by a commissioner, among a few. But that was about as dumb as there was.
Roger Maris, MVP twice. One of the great defensive outfielders that ever played the game.
I mean, why not put, if that were the case, if that follows, why not put asterisk by everything in a 162-game season, including stolen bases and everything else? Batting average, fielding average, assists, putouts, everything.
Well, the game has been changed. They could put asterisks and all kinds of other marks about the difference because of artificial turf.
Sure.
The differences in the ballparks.
Yeah.
Inside, outside. Make it very complicated as Eddie Murray bats here. And this ball pulled foul. Murray hitting .293 so far this year. No home runs, 11 runs batted in. He's had a tremendous 4-game surge in RBIs. He needs only 29 runs batted in to tie for first with Mickey Mantle for the most runs batted in by a switch hitter in Major League history. Mantle with 1,509. Murray with 398 switch hit home runs, and that is second in Major League history. Little topper down the third baseline, and a good play by Sion Franco, who's playing third base in place of Barbary today. Barbary has made 6 errors at third.
Well, this is a big league play right here. You see it from Sion Franco's position. You get an idea about what he has to do. Going forward, throwing back across his body to just get Eddie Murray. One of the all-time great names in baseball. Archie Sion Franco makes a great play.
So 2 men away, and that'll bring up Dave Gallagher. Gallagher hitting .385, 5 for 13, and 7 home runs with 5 base hits this year. 7 RBIs with 5 base hits this year. Nabholz back and missing. Nabholz, young left-hander for the Montreal EXPOS. And this ball is fouled back out of play. Nabholz, born in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, lives in Pottsville, PA. And whenever he plays in Philadelphia, which is nearby his hometown area,
about an hour away,
they take a busload of fans there as guests of Chris Nabholz. His one hitter was against Sid Fernandez. This ball hit out to fairly deep left center. Camped under it is Grissom, and the Mets go in order. The score at the end of 1.5 innings, the Mets nothing. And Montreal nothing, and here's a word from Budweiser.
Burt Lancaster, Lloyd Bridges, and Katharine Hepburn in the next Sunday movie classic, The Rainmaker. Tonight at 7 on Channel 9.
Well, we're going to the bottom half of the second. No score. The Mets against the Montreal Expos. The Mets return to New York after this ball game for a 3-game series against the St. Louis Cardinals, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday afternoon. As you look at Rick Cerrone, former Mets player last year, now with the Montreal Expos, wearing that number 13. Mets have a player wearing number 13, Rodney McRae. But he has a good reason for it. He was born on Friday the 13th. The difference in pitches through the first inning, 29-8, as Sid Fernandez throws pitch number 30 here in the second inning to Marquise Grissom.
Hey, outfield alignment. Howard Johnson's too far into right center field. You really play Grissom about straight away. See how close he is to Bobby Bonilla? I don't think Hojo really knows exactly a lot about positioning. He's adapted very well to center field and the athletic part of it. Jeff Torborg trying to keep an eye on him, but you can see right there, Hojo a little bit too close to Bobby Bonilla.
Grissom with the home run off Saberhagen yesterday, and that was pulled down the left field line, and Saberhagen was throwing 95 miles an hour, so you know he can pull.
That's right.
Grissom with 2 home runs, 7 RBIs.
Kurt Simmons, a left-handed pitcher, played with for a lot of years, had a great way of keeping it simple. He said Doubleday put the outfielders there for a reason, play them straight away. And for the most part, he was right.
Sid Fernandez back with a fastball, and it's fouled off. Grissom got his 100th stolen base against the Mets in the series when Montreal swept the Mets at Shea Stadium last week. He led the National League in stolen bases last year, actually led the major leagues with 76, and he goes down swinging. So the third strikeout recorded by Fernandez, and that will bring up Gary Carter. Carter hitting .214 so far this year, 3 hits and 14 at-bats. He has 314 career home runs, 288 of those while catching in a ball game. The all-time record for home runs while catching, Johnny Bench with 327. And the fastball. 1 ball, no strikes. Carter's most productive surge of home runs was against San Diego, and he was with the Mets. He had 5 home runs in 2 games. Ties the major league record.
Did it in San Diego.
San Diego.
1986.
Started his career with Montreal, now back with the Expos. Illustrious career, and there's a good fastball, 2-1. As a matter of fact, Carter started his career playing the outfield when Barry Foote, who's now a Mets coach, was the catcher. Didn't take long for Carter to take over the catching duties there. 2-1 the count. And the fastball fouled back out of play. The kid, second most popular player to play here in Montreal. Rusty Staub, number 1. First big hero up here was Mac Jones.
Coco LaBoy in the early days.
The third baseman.
Yeah.
And Tim McCarver, a member of the Montreal Expos.
Yeah, but from a popularity standpoint, I was in the 3 figures.
Should have tipped more.
Should have tipped more. Now, wait a minute. if you become if you become popular by tipping, Rusty wouldn't be the number one player.
I guess that eliminates him.
I know Rusty's hearing that back in New York too, so I guess he owes me one. Right?
Rusty says, "I'll shake your hand." 2-2. Happy to shake your hand, Rusty said. And there's a pitch for a ball. 3-2. 3-2 to Carter. Batted .246 with 6 home runs with the Dodgers last year. One of 6 players to play for the Mets, the San Francisco Giants, and the LA Dodgers. And it's ball 4, so Fernandez walks his 3rd man, and again he's running a high pitch total as he works here in the 2nd inning.
Obviously kidding about Rusty, because if you own a restaurant, that's one thing you know a lot about. Gratuities, right?
Absolutely.
You expect it for your employees, and you are inclined to do that when you go out because you know the rules.
Yeah, Rusty, we're only kidding. On the square. So 1 away, Carter at first base. And the batter is the 3rd baseman, Archie Cianfranco, who got his first major league hit against the Mets and did something very few people do. He might be the only one, as a matter of fact, to get his first major league hit and drive in 3 runs with a single for his first major league hit. I don't know. That's really unusual. Bases were loaded, a 3-2 count. The runners were going with the pitch. He singled in 3 runs. That was against Tim Burke, who was with Montreal last year. So Cianfranco with 3 runs batted in on 1 base hit. Turned into sparkling defensive play in the top half of the 2nd at 3rd base. He lives in Rome, New York. Not too far from here. His pass list is high. And he goes after the fastball, 2-1. Plays a little first base, too.
Big guy for a 3rd baseman, 6'5", 210 pounds. You don't see many 3rd basemen that tall.
Carter not being held on, the runner at first base. And Sid falls behind 3-1. The pitcher's on deck. So Sid, with 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, has not given up a base hit, but struggling, as is sort of his pattern of pitching. He just doesn't give up many base hits, but he has a lot of problems.
As an example, he has a shutout, no hits for the Expos, but of the 7 hitters who have faced him, only 1's put it in play.
Got a fly ball. Swing and a miss. Carter running with a pitch. He's out. So Carter trying to cross up the Mets, not being held on, attempts to steal 2nd and is thrown out.
I don't think this is a good play. It's 3-1, but because a lot of hitters swing through so many pitches, Gary trying to take advantage of that. He may have had the steal on that, but I don't think it's a good thing to do, to run with the count 3-1 to Fernandez. You don't make contact enough.
That's right, and he very hard to make contact, plus the fact he can walk you. And you got runners at 1st and 2nd.
Yep.
Now you got nobody on, and you got the inning over as Sid Fernandez gets his 4th strikeout. That retires the side, a walk, and no one left on base to score. At the end of 2, it's the Mets nothing and the Montreal Expos nothing. Here's a word from Chevrolet. Well, it's scoreless here in the Big O as we go to the top of the 3rd. The Mets will be sending up Dave Magaden, Charlie O'Brien, and Sid Fernandez as their first 3 batters.
What an appropriate day for goose eggs here in the 3rd inning. Happy Easter to everybody, huh?
Easter
goose eggs,
yeah.
Look at that. We're in the Big O, and look at all the O's there. Kind of an Easter egg hunt here so far. Both teams hunting for the first run.
Hunting for the first base hit. They've been walking all over the place, but they haven't been able to come up with a base hit. And they count 1-1 on Magaden, who's hitting 167. Magaden started the season hitting 0-0-0 for his first 14 official at-bats, and he broke through for a base hit. Fastball fouled off. 1-2 as Chris Nabholz works on the mound for the Montreal Expos.
I know we'll get letters explaining why this is true, but why do we say Happy Easter and Merry Christmas? Why is it not the other way around? Or Happy Christmas? I mean, you know, that's not consistency, is it?
You're asking me. And there's a pitch for a ball. 2-2 the count.
Just a thought.
Probably because, and I'm going to venture a thought here.
Okay.
Christmas is a little more of a merriment time, where
Well, what is
Easter is, well, it's not, you're not giving out a lot of gifts and that sort of thing on Easter. You're celebrating the fact that it is a historical moment with the resurrection of Christ. 3-2 the count. And that's a strikeout. So the second strikeout for Nabholz. And it'll bring up Charlie O'Brien.
You can see the amount of pitches by Fernandez. 29 in the first inning, 18 in inning number 2. Nothing game, no hits, but a lot of pitches thrown.
And O'Brien the batter. O'Brien hitting .263, takes for ball 1. O'Brien has had 5 hits so far this year, and all 5 have been 2 base hits, but he's been superseded by Rob Deere, who had his first 5 hits, all home runs. 5 base hits, all home runs, as Deere got off to his start. O'Brien, his first 5 hits, 2 base hits. Two and 0 the count, and no pitch. Leader in 2 base hits is Wallach, first baseman for Montreal, with 6. Eddie Murray also with 5 doubles. Mr. Wallach at first base. There's a strike, 2-1. On deck hitter for the Mets, Sid Fernandez. Speed pitch, and it's 3-1. Pittsburgh leading the National League East. They have won 5 in a row. They have a record of 8-2, leading Montreal by 2.5. And there's ball 4, so the Mets get their second walk. And so far in this game, we have had 5 walks by the 2 pitchers, but neither giving up a base hit. And that'll bring up Sid Fernandez. Sid 0 for 2 in the year, and probably bunting here. Sid has the best batting average of any Mets pitcher in the history of the Mets, dating back 31 years. It's still under 200. He squares the bunt, takes ball 1. Mike Cubbage, the third base coach for the Mets. Brian not fast, a runner at first, and the ball is bunted in the air, and they will make the play in the air.
Ought to drop that ball.
Ought to dropped it, that's
yeah,
right.
Don't make contact first, just let it bounce. Throw the ball to first base, and you probably have a double play, because that really ties the runner up. You don't have a fast runner on at first base. You've got to work on a play like this. So he has plenty of time to think about it, to allow it to drop. You see Charlie O'Brien at first base. He is frozen right there and would have been doubled off and caught in a rundown had Nabholz dropped the ball. And on the artificial surface, you're going to get a true hop, too.
And that brings up Willie Randolph, who has walked in his 1 appearance. Toss to first. O'Brien doesn't figure to be going anywhere, but still a throw over there.
You know who always used to think about and work on that play and worked it to perfection better than anybody that I ever saw dropping the bunt was Tug McGraw. He worked on it, thought about it, and you got to think about it before you do it. It's almost like he was tickled to death to get in a situation like that. He loved it.
And that pitch is strike. Tug, one of the free spirits of the game of baseball. He loved those oddities. He liked to do things like that.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
1 strike to count. Randolph hitting .231, has 1 home run. And again, they tossed it first. You wonder why games are around 3 hours all the time. It's plays like that. Chris Nabholz. 1 ball, 1 strike. In the National League West, San Diego on top in spite of losing 3 in a row. Lead San Francisco by a half game. They have won 3 in a row. And Houston by a half game, and they also won 3 in a row. Atlanta, they're 2 games back, but in last place in the Western Division of the National League. And another ball call, so it's 2-1. Toronto with a record of 10-2, leading the American League East. 2.5 games up on the Yankees. Oakland 9-3, leading by a game and a half over the White Sox. And that one a strike, so it goes to 2-2 on Willie Randolph.
In the American League West, the Kansas City Royals only 1-11. What a horrible start for Hal McRae's troops in Kansas City. Hal was the batting instructor here in Montreal when he received the call that opposed John Wathan last year, and the ex-Kansas City great took over, really struggling this year.
Ground ball foul, so the count will stay at 2-2. He turned down a job earlier. Might want to reconsider this one. Of course, Kansas City acquiring 3 Mets players, Jeffries, Miller, and McReynolds, in the Saberhagen-Pakota trade. Might say they've turned that club around.
You might say it. Don't look at me.
No, I know. I'm including you.
You're being facetious.
Absolutely. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Fouled off, so another foul ball keeps the count at 2-2.
You know, the only game that they won was the 1-hitter against Oakland when Ron Darling carried the no-hitter into the 8th inning. It was broken up by Keith Miller, and they scored 3 runs in the bottom of the 8th inning to win that game 3-1. Darling did not take the loss, but he had the no-hitter going in the 8th inning. So the only win that they've had this year was on a 1-hitter thrown against them.
That's when Keith Miller called up the Mets to talk to the Mets.
Yeah.
And it gets away from Carter, and on the play, O'Brien goes to second. Wild pitch charged against Chris Nabholz.
Ball squibs right to the left of Gary Carter. It looked like it may have hit his shin guard. That's a ball that Carter usually handles. Now Charlie O'Brien on a base hit would have a tough time scoring on a base hit to the outfield, so you've got to cheat somewhere. And the time to do it is to get a big lead at second base and really get off of there, because these guys have strong arms in center and right field.
They're also very shallow against Randolph. Here's a 3-2 pitch, and it's ball 4. So Randolph becomes the 3rd man to walk in this game for the Mets. There have been 3 walked by Sid Fernandez. Still no base hits. And the batter coming up, Dick Schofield. Schofield attempting to bunt for a base hit his first time up. Got credit for a sacrifice. should not say would have got credit for a sacrifice, but didn't get the runner over. He bunted it into a forced play at second. So he's 0 for 1. As the Mets bat with 2 men out. Top of the 3rd inning. And it's ball 1. Schofield hitting .368 coming into this game for the Mets. 7 hits and 19 at-bats. Now Joe Kerrigan going out to the mound to talk to his pitcher.
I tell you, Charlie O'Brien is thinking that down at second base. When a batter takes a pitch, since Charlie arrived at second, we were saying you got to cheat somewhere if you're not a fast runner. And the place to do it is to get that big lead at second base. And when a batter takes a pitch, Charlie's almost halfway between second and third, and that's what you have to do.
Outfield again shallow against Schofield, although Calderon is deeper against Schofield than he was against Randolph. Calderon in left field. Mets had 2 players thrown out the plate in yesterday's game on 1 base hit. Another one out of the strike zone. It's 2-0.
Here's Charlie O'Brien right here. Now this is after the pitch. See how far off he gets? That's what you really have to do if you can't run fast.
But don't get picked up.
Well, there just aren't that many throws by a catcher to second base. Gary Carter doesn't throw that much. Of course, if you're playing against San Diego, Santiago is a guy who keeps you close.
2-0 the count. The Mets with runners at first and second. 2 men out. Top of the 3rd inning. No score. And it's 3-0. On deck for the Mets, Bobby Bonilla. There's Bobby. So Nabholz pitching himself into a corner here, giving up 2 walks, and now 3-0 to Schofield. Walked him on 4 pitches. That will load up the bases. So Bonilla coming up, and he is among the leaders. Ten RBIs, 9 runs, 23 total bases, 11 walks, 548 slugging percentage, and a 472 on base percentage coming into this game. And in this game, he has grounded into a double play. So Nabholz with the bases loaded, pitching to Bobby Bonilla with 2 men out. And that's ball 1, 5 in a row out of the strike zone.
This game's like the Easter parade so far. There's a lot of walking, and everybody's wearing bonnets.
There's the new bonnet for the Montreal EXPOS, worn by Tom Runnels, the manager of the Montreal EXPOS, and on his birthday, the first game of this series, he was ejected from the ball game. Nice birthday present. A little fine goes with that. Ball 2-0. 6 in a row out of the strike zone on the last 2 batters, and 7 if you go back to the last 3. Carter out to talk to his pitcher as Tom Runnels sweats it out. Neither pitcher has given up a base hit in this game, but there have been base runners on all over the place. 7 walks in the game. So after taking too much time, Bonilla says, I'll take my time. Two balls, no strikes. And now Nabholz backs off the pitching river. More time is eaten up. Bonilla says, well, if you don't want to pitch to me, I don't want to hit.
Well, it's an ideal situation to hit. A guy who's struggling with the fastball has got to come in there now to a very dangerous Bonilla.
And the 2-0 pitch is hit in the air to center field. Over there is Grissom. And after all of that, no runs, no hits, 3 left. The score at the end of 2.5 innings, it's the Mets nothing, Montreal nothing. And here's a word from Hyundai. Fans, if you missed your chance to get a Mets calendar, then don't miss the April 21st Mets game against the Cardinals. While supplies last, all fans attending the Tuesday 7:40 p.m. game will receive a 1992 calendar full of action photos of all your favorite Mets, plus valuable coupons for Stroman Bakery's products. Call Ticketmaster at 212-307-METS to charge tickets by phone, or call 718-507-TIXX for more information. The 1992 Mets, hardball is back.
Hey kids, how would you like to have your picture taken with a Mets player on the field at Shea Stadium? Well, here's your chance. Milk Duds is once again teaming up with the Mets to offer kids 6 to 16 a chance to be a celebrity bat boy or bat girl. Winners receive lots of souvenirs, plus 4 tickets to the game to bring your family and friends. Don't miss out on all the fun. Milk Duds celebrity bat boy or bat girl entry forms are available at fan relations booths throughout Shea Stadium and at the Mets clubhouse shops. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Winners do not perform actual bat boy or bat girl duties. Well, it's a nice deal.
And we're going to the bottom half of the third.
Those are gamers in there, right, Ralph? You can tell with the pine tar on the end, they're dirty bats. Those are the gamers. Those are the bats that the guys like to use. And then you get your gamer, and someday you're out early in the ballpark, and the pitchers are hitting with it, right? Don't you love that?
You want to kill them. They put that back. And the bat rack certainly hasn't been too busy here in today's ball game. Not a base hit by either side, but a lot of base runners on 7 walks. And in the bottom half of the third, the leadoff batter is Chris Nabholz. Nabholz batting for the first time is 0 for 3 this year. Sid Fernandez gets his second pitch in, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Nabholz will be followed by the top of the batting order, and the 1-1 pitch, and it's in for strike 2. Mel Stoudemire came up to me today, Tim, and if you think this doesn't put you in your place, last night he went to see the picture of Babe Ruth. And he said he enjoyed it. Of course, John Goodman playing the part of Babe Ruth. And he said to me, when did you start playing ball? And I said, well, I started playing ball in 1941 in the minor leagues. And he says, I want to ask you a question. He says, did they have pinch runners when you hit home runs? He says, in the picture, Babe Ruth would hit a home run out of the ballpark, and he'd run to first, and somebody would take his place and run the rest of the way around the bases. Now, does that make you feel like you're old? Pinch runners for guys that hit home runs?
I mean, that really happened?
It couldn't have happened because he said it happened in the picture, but it didn't happen. It doesn't happen in baseball. You didn't.
John Goodman couldn't make it around the bases?
I guess John couldn't make it all the way around. And the pitch is fouled back out of play. Ruth, of course, hit his last 3 home runs at Forbes Field in Pittsburgh. And he was playing for the Boston Braves at that time.
When was that?
1935.
For 35? Well, John Goodman had to be better than William Bendix in that role.
Yeah,
anybody
would have been. Bendix playing the part of Babe Ruth After Ruth had died in 1948, they came out with that picture in a hurry to take advantage of everyone mourning the death.
Of course, I don't guess John Goodman could play the part of Chester A. Riley, right?
No. So one away on the strikeout, the fifth for Sid Fernandez as Nabholz goes down, and that'll bring up DeShields, who was his first strikeout victim, and the fastball to strike. No score in the game, one man out, bottom half of the third, still no hits. And Sid Fernandez has struck out 5 of his 9 batters. Goes to the curve and gets a strike. 1 strike, now 2. Shields batting .333 coming into this game. And it's strike 3. So Sid Fernandez gets his 6th strikeout.
Take a look at the Macy's National League scoreboard. Philadelphia over Pittsburgh, 5-0. I think that's a mistake. I think it's the other way around. I believe Pittsburgh over Philadelphia in the 4th inning. We'll check that. San Diego at Houston later on. Chicago at St. Louis, no score. Atlanta at L.A. tonight. Cincinnati at San Francisco later on this afternoon. That is wrong. Pittsburgh is over Philadelphia 5-0, that game in the top of the 4th. Pittsburgh scoring 3 in the top of the 1st inning.
Pittsburgh coming into that game with a 5-game winning streak, and the Phillies with a 4-game losing streak. And the batter, spike on with the ball 1 count. 2-0. Spike walking the 3-2 pitch his first time up. Fernandez has struck out 6 while walking 3. He has not given up a base hit. There's his strike.
Only 1 ball put in play so far. Tim Wallach ended the first with a pop out to short. That is the only ball that has been put in play.
And that ball fouled away. Mets have only put 4 balls in play.
Only 2 balls to the outfield. This is a strange game.
Sid Fernandez combined on a game where there were no assists in the ball game a few years back. All strikeouts and putouts. And he strikes out the side. So he gets his 5th, 6th, and 7th strikeouts as we end 3. And the score at the end of 3 here in the Big O, it's the Mets nothing and the Expos nothing. And here's a word from Chemical.
There are many ways to show the world you're a real Mets fan. Personally, I prefer this, the Mets MasterCard from Chemical Bank. It has all the advantages of MasterCard, plus a great lineup of special Mets benefits. You can even use your Mets MasterCard to buy tickets to see your favorite team, the Mets. The Mets MasterCard. If you have one, use it. If not, apply now. Call 1-800-648-METS anytime.
How did the most famous woman of her time vanish without a trace? Half a century later, the untold story is revealed in The Search for Amelia Earhart, Monday at 8 on Channel 9.
Well, Easter time is the time for eggs, and we got nothing but goose eggs going right here as Bob Carpenter comes in to take you along in the Easter Bunny hunt.
The hunt for base hits. Thanks, Ralph. Top of the 4th inning, scoreless game. Howard Johnson leads off for the Mets. He was a strikeout victim swinging first time up. Nabholz throws one outside. Howard tries to pull it, does. Franco charging, and it's off the bag, and the Mets have a runner. First time they've had a runner who's gotten to first base by swinging the bat. Howard, of course, an outstanding base runner. And the leadoff man aboard.
Well, some charitable scoring right here as Howard Johnson is credited with a base hit. You see the ball bobbled and then the throw way off line. but it's being scored a base hit for Howard Johnson. So the Mets get the first hit of the ball game, and it was a gift.
The good runners get the benefit of the doubt by the official score. With a left-hander on the mound, Barbary not in the lineup today. Cianfranco is. Although Barbary is a switch hitter. And here's one who hits for power. Eddie Murray. First time up, the third baseman made a good play to take a base hit away from him. He saw a fastball down the middle, and he was pumping on the first one. Earlier, Ralph, you and Tim talked about Eddie's RBIs, 10 over the last 4 games. He's probably hit the ball as softly for those RBIs in this series as you could ever hope to. But those things, of course, have a way of evening out.
Well, he made contact, and he got a double that drove in 3 runs when he hit it over the third base bag while hitting left-handed.
And then yesterday, a little flare into right center that knocked a couple of runs home. Eddie's in the hole now. No balls, 2 strikes.
398 switch hit home runs, only Mickey Mantle with more.
Eddie has done most of his damage from the left side.
Mickey Mantle with 536 career home runs. Of course, he a switch hitter. Then Eddie Murray, and then Reggie Smith with 314. Then Ted Simmons with 248, and Ken Singleton, who's in this ballpark as a broadcaster for Montreal, with 246.
0-2 pitch. Eddie had to protect the plate, and he fouled it off to the right side. Now it stays 0-2.
Howard Johnson next on that list with 198. And the only other active player with more home runs than Eddie Murray is Dave Winfield with 407. Eddie Murray with that 398. One more than Dale Murphy at 397.
There's the low breaking ball. It's into left field, down the line, and making the turn and heading for third is Howard Johnson. Murray will be frozen at first. But the Mets with an infield hit, then one down the line, runners at the corners, nobody out. Eddie came in hitting 300 from the right side of the plate.
Well, this pitch is kind of a hanging slurve, not really much of a bite on that one, and Murray goes out and gets it, hits it off the end of the bat into the corner, and good fielding by Calderon to hold Murray to a single as Johnson goes to third easily. So the Mets with a big threat going here with no one out.
And the guy who's had a lot of RBIs lately, Dave Gallagher, at the plate. They had Murray leaning, and he is out at first base. Eddie dipped that right shoulder towards second, and he never could get back.
Well, Tim Wallach, the first baseman, coming in and holding against Murray. And you see Murray making that little step towards second. That got him going the wrong way, and he's picked off. Big pick off, and now the infield in for a play at the plate.
With 2 on, nobody out, Expos were playing back. They would concede the run to go after the double play. And now Gallagher will need obviously more than the ground ball to drive the run home.
Of course, with that infield in, it adds about 100 points to your batting average. Makes a racehorse out of a mule when you can hit with that infield in.
And Gallagher's a good contact hitter. Nabholz with a breaking ball that stays outside. He's been wild today, has the Montreal left-hander, but it's been mainly with the fastball. His breaking ball has been decent at times. So even with a runner at third, he was confident enough to throw it down and away on the first pitch. Looks like he took a little bit off. He's a fastball slider changeup pitcher. And that one was right near the outside corner. Nabholz, 25 years old, from Harrisburg, PA. Gallagher flied to center his first time up, came in hitting .385 with 7 RBIs. And this breaking ball comes back to catch the corner, 1-2.
Toughest pitch for right-hand batters, that curveball that starts outside. It looks like it's a ball and then comes back in the back door, as the players say. And it's a strike.
And Ralph, that one had a lot more snap on it than the one he threw to Eddie Murray that ended up in the left field corner.
That is sure.
Inside target. Fastball away, and Gallagher fouled it. Nabholz did not put that pitch where Gary Carter wanted it. Tom Runnels watched as the Mets had 2 on, nobody out. He knows all about wasted opportunities. Friday night, his ball club had a couple on with nobody out, did not score. Yesterday, they loaded them up early, did not score. They were fortunate enough to win, though. This one is low and inside, 2-2. Nabholz made 24 starts for the Expos last year. 8 wins, 7 losses. Howard Johnson at third base with 1 out after Murray was picked off. And that breaking ball is chopped foul. It may seem a little early to be talking about things like this, Ralph, but there's already some people around the Mets club talking about the fact that you want to take a series like this because the Pirates are playing so well, you don't want them to run away and hide even early in the season. And they're winning again today. That makes this at bat very important for the Mets to get on top. And they will, as it's down the left field line. Johnson scores easily. Gallagher makes the turn and heads for a double. And it's 1-0 New York as they get on top first. 3 hits in the inning. The pickoff looms large, but the Mets do get on top.
Well, a good pickup right here by Gallagher, and the Mets got a good pickup when they traded for Gallagher. Hubie Brooks going over to the Angels and Gallagher coming to the Mets. And how about these for numbers? 6 hits, and he's driven in 8 runs with his 6 hits. And this puts the Mets on top. When they have scored the first run in the ball game, they have not lost this year. They are 5-0, and they have scored first here.
Good dugout reaction as Howard Johnson came home. Dave Magaden, the hitter. Magaden was called out on strikes in the 3rd inning. The Mets have 5 wins against 7 losses this year. Each time they have been the first to score. They started today 4 back of the Pirates. This breaking ball catches the inside corner. No balls, 2 strikes.
Magaden struck out looking at a curveball on a 3-2 pitch his first time up. And now down with a 2-strike count. Nabholz back with that curve again.
Jeff Torborg giving Magaden the start today, despite a left-hander being out there.
Bill Pacota's still out of action because of a pulled muscle.
A breaking ball, and Dave just had to reach to stay alive. Chris Nabholz made a big defensive lapse at third yesterday in a reserve role. So the Mets have several guys who can play the position, but not all available. No balls, 2 strikes to Magaden with a run home. He got the fastball. It's into left center. Around third comes Gallagher. He will score. And twice in this inning, Nabholz has had Met hitters 0-2 and given up base hits. Dave Magaden, his second run batted in this year.
Well, Magaden hangs in there, and he finally gets that fastball, hits it off the trademark, but it's in. And Calderon fields it going toward the center field side and has no chance to make a throw home to get Gallagher. And the Mets leading now 2-0.
Nabholz has not retired a hitter in the inning. 4 consecutive base hits. Charlie O'Brien is next. No activity in the Montreal bullpen, at least not yet. The only man retired was on a pickup, so he hasn't retired any hitters, just one runner. And Magaden, not exactly your big running threat. Nabholz appears to be reluctant to work homeward at this point. Charlie O'Brien has opened up his stance, as we've talked about before. He's been mainly a pull hitter lately. Starting his 5th consecutive game, although yesterday he only stayed around for one at bat when the Mets fell to a 5-0 uprising early by the Expos. Mackey Sasser was used in the game a little later. I guess if you can call Rob Deere an all or nothing hitter, this guy would be double or nothing.
He's double or nothing, all 2 base hits.
1-0 pitch. Bouncer up the middle. Should be a couple. Oh, the ball is dropped and everybody is safe. Dave Magaden did a great job of getting right in on Spike Owen. And Spike, thinking about stepping away from the bag for his relay, never grabbed the ball cleanly.
This will be the 17th error made by Montreal this year. Second one by Spike Owen. He never was in possession of the ball. He was trying to get back away from the runner to make the relay on the first. Never caught the ball. Normally, if you're in the act of throwing, you'll get the out at second, but he really never had possession of it. So instead of a double play, no one out, and the Mets with runners at first and second.
And the pitcher coming in. As Ralph and Tim talked earlier, Sid Fernandez, respectable, capable of holding his zone at the plate. Tried to bunt first time up, bunted in the air. It was caught by the pitcher.
He can hit away here.
And the Expos got a little crossed up there. Spike Owen cut behind Dave Magaden out at second base. He was at the bag when the ball was delivered to the plate. And that's a no-no.
Really have to blame the pitcher for that. You can't pitch the ball when your fielders are out of position, as Spike Owen was there. He was looking for a throw to second. Of course, the rotation play is a play that is used by just about every club in baseball. Shortstop covering third.
Fernandez looking to bunt, and it's foul off to the left. 1 ball, 1 strike. Sid's a 197 career hitter with 29 RBIs. 0 for 3 this year. And that indicates how poorly he has pitched so far.
Only 3 at bats here.
His 3rd game started. He's only been up there 3 times now. Wallach in very close now from first. Seeing Franco in close at third. Looking to bunt again. He misses it. And back rather easily is Magaden.
Well, Spike Owen, if he had been back by the bag, might have had the runner at second, as Carter throws it down there very quickly. Magaden, you can see off the bag here, and Carter fires it down if the throw isn't taken in front there. Might have had him. He had to come up, though, to get the throw.
Now, what will Sid do on 1 ball, 2 strikes? He will swing, and he will strike out.
Well, David Cohen had trouble sacrificing in the first game of this series, striking out twice after trying to bunt, and now Sid Fernandez unable to sacrifice. And most people will say, well, why don't they work on it? Well, they do work on it. They work on it over and over and over again, but it seems to have no effect.
And when you work on it, it's hard to simulate a guy throwing an 80 or 85 mile an hour breaking ball when you're a left-handed hitter. Here's Willie Randolph with a chance for the 2-out hit. Carter throws him a fastball, or at least Nabholz did. He'll have to go back and make a high throw. A run will score on another error. And Willie Randolph getting back to first base. Magaden scored. O'Brien ends up at third, and it's 3-0.
Well, this is the third error by a pitcher for Montreal this year, and their 18th error this season. They are leading the league in that department by a large margin. And Nabholz contributes to his own problem as he just throws it away, and the Mets get an unearned run on that throw.
All of those numbers happening during this inning. 3 runs on 4 hits, both errors. And Dick Schofield will be the 8th man to bat in the inning. John Franco dressed as if he's going out to catch next half inning.
Those relief pitches are something else, huh?
They're different enough.
They are.
Then you take him, and you're in a whole different category. Here's Schofield fouling one back to the screen.
When you take Tug McGraw, Roger McDowell, and now John Franco, the Mets have had their share.
O'Brien says, get that off. The dugouts aren't that close, are they? Now, if you're in the new ballpark out in Phoenix, you might want to get dressed up like that. Out of play off to the right, no balls, 2 strikes. Schofield's been aboard twice on a fielder's choice bunt and a walk. He's looking over at the other dugout. I have a feeling that Cerrone might be on the other end of this conversation.
Where did you get the left-handed catcher's glove?
That's a first baseman's mitt, I believe. I don't know. It could be the mitt. Nabholz over to first. Well, the Expos infield defense a little shaky. There's Rick Cerrone over on the other side.
I played with a left-handed catcher, Dale Long, in his days with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Not many of those guys around. Branch Rickey wanted to make him a catcher. Set his career back about 5 years.
Probably one of the few bad ideas Branch Rickey ever had. One of the great innovators of the game. Nothing was happening on the pitch out with Randolph at first. So it's a ball and 2 strikes on Schofield. Again, another good contact hitter up there who's liable to put it in play. He took the breaking ball down low. Top of the 4th inning, Mets have scored 3 times with a lot of help. Two and two the count with runners at the corners. And on the fastball away, Schofield angry at himself for striking out. 3 runs on 4 hits and a couple of errors in the inning. But on Easter Sunday, the goose eggs are finally gone. Mets on top 3-0. And here's a word from Nobody Beats the Wiz. Bottom of the 4th inning. And the Mets, after scoring 3 times, will take the field. And this game today is brought to you in part by Nobody Beats the Wiz, home entertainment centers. For everything in home electronics, music, and movies, nobody beats the Wiz. and by your Tri-State Toyota dealers. I love what you do for me. Toyota. From Olympic Stadium in Montreal, Bob Carpenter, Ralph Kiner, Tim McCarver, Mets on top 3-0. Sid Fernandez will face Ivan Calderon in the bottom of the 4th inning. And that one is well hit to left field. Gallagher can't reach it, and one hops the wall. Calderon in for second base, and a stand-up leadoff double. Ralph, I was just about to say, hard to tell what effect the long sit in the dugout would have on Sid Fernandez, who's been unhittable so far, but a bit erratic. He laid the first one in there, and Calderon took care of the rest.
Oh, Calderon, the 300 hitter for Montreal last year, likes that fastball. That's what he gets right here. It's right in the slot. And he puts it out there for the first hit off Sid Fernandez. And Montreal trying to get back in this game.
Larry Walker is next, and he saw a pitch up, fouled it back to the screen. A year ago at this time, Walker was really struggling. Then skipper Buck Rogers was platooning him out in right field. Not anymore. He's become a solid player in this lineup, and he's playing against all kinds of pitching. Up the middle, Calderon, they're sending him home. Howard Johnson hits the cutoff man. It comes through now, and they almost got him at home. Now Walker going for third, and he is saved!
Well, whatever it is, it certainly is contagious. Montreal making errors and giving the Mets an unearned run in the top of the inning. And now Johnson's throw getting away, and going over to third after moving down to second on the throw is Walker, and he is in safely.
Howard Johnson's throw hit short of the mound. They still let it come in. And Calderon almost got embarrassed there a little bit by not sliding home. They have given an error to the catcher for dropping that throw.
Well, I believe the error goes against the catcher for dropping the throw, not for not making the tag in Calderon, but allowing Walker to get to third. Anthony Young is now throwing in the bullpen. He's out there because of the off day coming up Monday. The Mets don't have to go to their 5th starter. They have set up the rotation for St. Louis for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Young has been put into the middle part of the bullpen as a middle relief pitcher, so he is there. Normally he'd be as a starting pitcher. But due to the schedule, he is now in the bullpen. Checking out the Toyota scoreboard as we have a second here. The American League Toyota scoreboard, it's the Yankees 1, Cleveland nothing, top of the 6th. The Yankees shut out Cleveland yesterday. Toronto 2, Boston 1, top of the 6th. Rain delay in Milwaukee, Seattle there. Baltimore 2, Detroit 1, bottom of the 4th. Minnesota nothing, Chicago nothing, top of the 2nd. Rain delay in the other 2 games. Both in Kansas City and Texas. Rain delays.
A ball and a strike. Tim Wallach is the next hitter. Mets still on top 3-1. Infield is back. Wallach fly to center first time up. And Sid Chain speeds on him a bit and gets him in the hole 1-2. So if you're scoring with us, Walker gets a single and an RBI, takes second on the throw, takes third on the catcher's error. That time, Fernandez challenging Wallach with the fastball.
Over-aggressiveness by Johnson in center field is throw coming into home, with the Mets leading by a score of 3-1. And it gives Walker a chance to get all the way to third as he gets away. If he throws in the second base to stop the runner, you got a run in and a runner at first.
In on the fist of Wallach. He lifts it to left field. Looks deep enough because Walker can run very well. And he is home easily, making it 3-2. We just saw why Larry Walker is becoming so popular here in Montreal. He's a very good hitter, can play defense, but this guy can fly, too.
Well, he was very aggressive on the bases after the single to drive in Calderon. He goes to second and then makes the big move as the ball gets away and goes to third, where he can score on the sac fly to left. So Montreal back in the game.
Larry Walker really responsible for both of those runs, driving one in, hustling for the other. And Grissom, the hitter, with one out, bases empty. And he pops one straight up. Magaden and Schofield watching it near the mound. Dave will one-hand it for the second out. Marquise Grissom 0 for 2. Received the Lou Brock Award before the game today for leading the National League with 76 steals last year. And Gary Carter will be the hitter with the bases empty, 2 outs now. An example of how the Expos feel okay about their outfield and infield, but were a little uncertain about their catching situation, was that on the 40-man roster for spring training, they had 7 catchers. Magaden can't believe he doesn't have that ball in his glove. Carter hit it sharply. Magaden was right there, simply did not catch it. And they've given a hit.
The ball is hit hard. Magaden, though, had a good shot at it, should have caught it. He looks in the glove, it's not there, and Carter gets a base hit. Makes a good aggressive turn around first base and holds there as Gallagher gets it back in.
I'm not sure, though, I've ever heard of a team having 7 catchers on their spring roster.
That is an amazing amount of catchers. Just to find 7 catchers is pretty good.
Most organizations don't have that many more, from Double-A all the way up to the big leagues.
Yes, for volunteers, I don't think you could get 7 people to volunteer to catch.
Archie Cianfranco, the hitter. He struck out swinging first time up, so after each pitcher was nothing if not unhittable during the first 3 innings, each of them kind of had things fall apart for them here in this 4th inning. Former Met, the left-hander Doug Simon's throwing in the Montreal bullpen. That may indicate to us with Bobby Bonilla, Howard Johnson, and Eddie Murray due up in the 5th. Tom Runnels doesn't feel real great about the way Nabholz is throwing either.
Of course, a base hit here would bring the pitcher up to hit, and they would be able to pinch hit for the pitcher.
Cianfranco was overmatched first time up, striking out. On 0-2, he held up. Larry Wendelstedt, the crew chief over at first base, said no swing. So if Cianfranco keeps the inning alive, Nabholz would be through. Unless he hits one out of the park, maybe.
Which he hasn't done in his major league career.
And Sid goes upstairs with a fastball to strike him out. That's 8 for Fernandez. But in the inning, 2 runs on 2 hits and an error. 4th inning had a lot of action. 3-2 Mets, and here's a word from Las Vegas.
Explore the beauty and wonder of Indonesia on Cousteau's rediscovery of the world.
Indonesia, Heart of the Sea, tonight at 6 on Channel 9.
After being scoreless for 3, it's now Mets 3, Expos 2 after 4. And the middle of the New York batting order will face left-hander Chris Nabholz in the top of the 5th inning. Numbers 3, 4, and 5, Bobby Bonilla, Howard Johnson, and Eddie Murray.
They had a little squib in the paper here in Montreal about Bobby Bonilla and the tax situation. There is a non-residence income tax in some of the states now, and ball players have to pay tax when they play in the states that have that non-resident tax. And that would be on Bobby Bonilla, who has that tremendous salary. And when he plays in California, they have figured out that he will pay $56,000 in California taxes. And they said that would be enough to reopen the municipal pools here in Montreal.
Yeah, they were talking about the Mets coming in here 3 different times. As Bonilla lines a one hopper to Spike Owen. 1 out. And they'd be able to reopen those pools and then finish a community center that's under construction as well.
They could use a little of that money right here in this ballpark because this roof is starting to deteriorate, and they're talking about $20 million to put another roof on top of the stadium, which is part of a complex for the Olympics that cost over $1 billion to build.
They're talking about plexiglass for the new roof here. That'll be the biggest pane of glass in the world. Howard Johnson, a 2-hopper. Spike Owen throws him out. I just hope it's tinted if they put glass up there. The family of Budweiser beers is proud of all the friendships they have helped to make. So when they remind you to know when to say when, it's all in the name of friendship. Bases empty, 2 outs. And Eddie Murray, the hitter. Eddie will take a little extra time, give Sid Fernandez a chance to rest up a bit, as the first 2 have all gone out very early in the count here. Eddie's pickoff last inning cost the Mets what could have been a huge inning. They did score 3 times. But they could have had 4 or 5 had Eddie not been picked off first. Spike Owen throws out all 3, this time with a little help from Wallach's tag. And halfway through the ball game here in Montreal, the Mets on top 3-2. Happy Easter to you. And now here's a word from Bud Light. There's Chris Nabholz, the Montreal pitcher. He'll lead off in the bottom of the 5th inning, trailing 3-2. And then back to the top of the order for Delino DeShields and Spike Owen.
Interesting thing going on right here. He's going to bat. Nabholz is going to bat. They still have a pitcher throwing in the bullpen.
They've got their left-hander, Steve Fry. I'll check it. Is that Fassero? Simon's still, okay.
Yeah, it's Simon's, and if they're thinking about putting him in the game, why would they let the pitcher hit?
Hard to believe that relievers need the extra work. Usually they're taking all the rest they can get. I was thinking of Fry. Just saw him pitch for California the other night, the former Expo left-hander. He's the only lefty in the bullpen out there. This one lifted down the line and into foul territory. Gallagher makes the grab, 1 out. So Sid Fernandez has settled down a bit after his problems last inning. They got Wallach on a fly ball, which was a sac fly after the good hustle by Walker. Retired Grissom on a pop-up after a Carter single off the glove of Magaden. Struck out Cianfranco. Just got the pitcher. Now back to the top of the order. He has fanned Delino DeShields twice. This one high in the air to right center. Bobby Bonilla looking at it. And about 375 feet away makes the catch. It's about 385 or so, 390 to the wall out there in right center. 404 to dead center field here in Montreal. 375 over toward the Dodger logo out there. And 325 down the lines.
Or 99 meters.
99 meters. Doesn't make it look that long when you look out to center field. Says 123. Spike Owen hitting second today with Barbary not in the lineup. Against the left-hander, they moved Spike up to the number 2 spot. He has walked, stolen a base, and been called on strikes. 0 for 1. And the breaking ball up and away. 2 balls and a strike. Nabholz worked through a very quick top of the 5th inning. We'll see if Sid can do the same in the bottom. They have not been able to lay off that high fastball. And that's a tribute to what Tim was talking about earlier, that late hop that Fernandez has. Even a guy who doesn't hit for power like Owen still thinks he can hit that pitch.
It does look like it's easy to hit on its way up there, but it has that little express at the end and can't get aboard.
That one wasn't that close to Spike, but he was diving out over the plate. In fact, when he spun around, Charlie O'Brien appealed to the umpire. Look where the bat goes. Out over the plate, but he did appear to hold up. Harry Wendell said no swing. 3 balls, 2 strikes. And over to the right side and over the Expos dugout. Bases empty, 2 outs in the bottom of the 5th inning. Offensively, things have quieted down a little again. And Owen hits one to center field that Howard Johnson is getting under. A 1-2-3 for Sid. It stays 3-2 after 5. And here's a word from Citibank. First pitch of the 6th inning. Fastball at the knees to Dave Gallagher. Mets have out hit the Expos 4-3 and lead 3-2. Gallagher with a big hit last time up. Doubling down the left field line, driving home Howard Johnson. Game's first run, he then scored on a Dave Magaden base hit. Looking to bunt for a hit, and the Expos are claiming he was out in front of the plate, out of the batter's box. Charlie Relaford, the home plate umpire, says no, he was still in there. Obviously, if the ball hits him when out of the box, he is out. And Tom Runnels will discuss.
Oh, we check it out of the replay. If you're in the batter's box, it's a foul ball. If you're out of it, you're out. And got him in the box.
Yeah, he still had the left foot in there and hadn't finished his stride with the right foot. Good call by the home plate umpire. And a count of 1 ball, 2 strikes. Gallagher followed by Magaden and O'Brien. And he tried to catch the inside corner with the fastball. Pitch count starting to pile up after all those deliveries these guys made in the early innings, especially Sid Fernandez. And it goes to 3-2 on Gallagher. If he gets aboard, that could be significant because the Mets bullpen is working. But he'll pop it up. Marquise Grissom out in short left center for the first out. The pitcher is scheduled to hit fourth in this inning. Gallagher 1 for 3. Anthony Young up for the second time. Bullpens are so close to the field here, you've got to get a little help to be protected down there. Wally Whitehurst, you saw standing guard behind Young. That's how close the bullpens are. Maybe about 140 feet or so from home plate.
They have really shortened this park up. They made it a lot more convenient for the fans by moving it closer toward the stands. They've lost some seats that way. This thing was originally built to house the Olympic Games and did seat somewhere around 80,000 people.
They've never had to worry about that many showing up for baseball. Fastball away, Magaden fouled it, 1-2. In fact, on opening day, they have a published capacity here of 43,739. They had plenty of seats out in the outfield, but they turned away a couple thousand folks who wanted to come in because they didn't have tickets for those seats. They say,
staffed, yeah.
They say by the end of May they will have some more bleacher seats out beyond the outfield walls like they did last year. Last time up, Magaden got a fastball away, took it to left field for a base hit. Nabholz was ahead of him in the count at that time, 0-2, and this time he's challenging him with fastballs again.
Expos, part of the expansion in 1969, played their first game ever in Shea Stadium and they were on the winning side of that ball game.
And a big breaking ball. Magaden is gone. Gary Carter thinks there are 3 outs, only 2, Gary, as he was rolling the ball to the mound to run to the dugout. And that'll cost him a few dollars when the Kangaroo Court convenes.
Yeah, it's a little embarrassing when you've been around as long as Gary. There's the roll back to the mound. Got to get 3 before the inning is officially over.
It's been that way for about 150 years. Charlie O'Brien gave him a little heat as he stepped in. O'Brien on base twice today. 0 for 1 officially with a walk, and he reached on an error. And a half swing for strike 1. They also say when they put up those bleacher seats out there, Ralph, they're going to hang a curtain behind the seats to make it a little more intimate. Right now it looks like the Grand Canyon when you look out to the outfield. Probably about 700 or 800 feet to the wall of this place out there.
Well, they have cleaned it up. For a while, they kept all the equipment out there. They had cranes and automobiles, and I think you could park there for 50 cents.
Covered parking. Ooh, good fastball, but it just missed. O'Brien working the count to 2-2. He's the 8th hitter. If he gets aboard, Sid Fernandez could be through for the day. Sid's in the on-deck circle, but Anthony Young is ready in the bullpen. Little half swing. DeShields will wait for it. And the Mets go quietly. That is 7 straight by Chris Nabholz. Now we're through 5.5. Mets on top 3-2. And here's a word from Sunoco. Well, Ralph, they won't need that tax money from Bobby Bonilla now. They can reopen those pools with the fine Gary Carter's going to have to pay for rolling the ball out to the mound with just 2 outs.
Kangaroo Court, and of course you can't live this one down. Here he comes back in the dugout after making that little faux pas.
Rick Cerrone's given it to him, and then Dennis Martinez took over.
Can't keep count. They're on him. If you're going to play, you got to pay.
Here's Calderon. Mets paid the last time this guy led off an inning. Back in the fourth, he singled to left, actually doubled down the line, and then scored on Walker's single. And Sid comes back with a low fastball. So Fernandez still in the game, but it might be his last inning.
He's thrown an awful lot of pitches, but he's only given up 3 hits in the game. They all came in the fourth when Montreal scored twice.
And it would be interesting to see whether Jeff Torborg would pull him out after 6 innings if he still had the lead. Count goes to 1-2 on Calderon. Dangerous part of this Montreal batting order. Jeff will keep a close eye on his hurler because he faces Calderon, Walker, and Wallach. Well, Stottlemyre striding in from the bullpen where Anthony Young has been working. And giving Jeff the lowdown on the right-hander who is ready. And a fastball upstairs gets Calderon. Strikeout number 9 for El Cid.
Sid went through the 5th inning without a strikeout. Now back with his 9th strikeout of this game. And the fastball still alive.
Larry Walker's had a perfect day. And he waits for a breaking ball. That goes into the stands down the left field side. Walker, like many others today, walked early in the game, back in the first, was stranded. RBI single in the fourth. He went all the way to third on the throw and an error, scored on Wallach's sacrifice fly. And he couldn't catch up with that one. Again, you could see the fastball riding up above the bat.
Well, Sid started his career with the Dodgers. He was a loser for them. 0-1, lost to San Francisco, and then traded to the Mets. And with the Mets, he's won 79 and lost 63. Real enigma because of the few hits that he allows, holding the opponents to a batting average of around 200 in his major league career. And still not a big winner.
No balls, 2 strikes. Target away. Fastball upstairs and strikeout number 10. You know, Ralph, you were talking Friday night about driving around Montreal and seeing those signs on them that have question marks.
Yeah.
That's a sign that could appear on the top step of the Mets dugout when this guy pitches and when David Cohn pitches. You look at a couple of guys who've got great stuff. They can throw hard, but for the last couple of years have not been winners. And there has to be a question somewhere along the line to be answered. What can make them winning pitchers more so than they have been?
There's an intangible in there that hasn't been calculated, and you see pitchers with far less stuff come up with better winning percentages.
Tim Wallach 0 for 1 with a sac fly. And with Brett Saberhagen, who's a proven big winner. Doc Gooden, who before his injury was as well. These are a couple of guys on this staff that need to forget about strikeouts and all that and just get some W's, and things will fall into place. (3-0). Wallach, a good low ball hitter. Fernandez does not throw the fastball down low a whole lot. So we'll see what happens here. 3-0. You figure the green light is on in a 1-run ball game. Too high on 4 pitches. Wallach aboard. Grissom coming up.
Well, that's one of the things that you can note with Sid on the mound, the fact that he does get himself into his own trouble. The best pitcher in the history of baseball holding the opposition to the lowest batting average, Nolan Ryan at 202. And then next to him, Sid Fernandez at 204 batting average, and Sandy Koufax 205.
Here's Grissom. Koufax, the only one of those three able to put together huge differentials in the wins and the losses. The only criticism you ever hear of the great Nolan Ryan, the fact that his career wins not that much higher than his career losses.
Now, one of the great statements by Buzzy Bavasi, a general manager, he said when he got rid of Ryan, let him go to Texas, and they said, how are you going to replace Ryan? He says, well, I'll just get two pitchers that can win 8 and lose 6. It's sort of an understatement. But of course, Ryan, one of the most spectacular pitchers that has ever pitched, with the most strikeouts by far of any pitcher in the history of the game, and the most no-hitters with 7.
But had to pitch way into his 40s to reach that 300 win mark. Nolan Ryan, by the way, they say in Texas, scheduled to come off the DL on Wednesday. And he could be a starter Wednesday night at Arlington Stadium when the Tigers come visit. And whenever you put Nolan together with the Tigers, you figure you'll see some strikeouts. That's a free swinging bunch. There's a free swing to left field by Grissom. It is gone! Marquise Grissom homered off Saberhagen yesterday. Fernandez today.
And it's sort of the story on Sid Fernandez. A walk and a home run after just blowing away the first 2 batters. 2 of the best hitters that Montreal has, Calderon and Walker. And then the walk to Wallach, and Grissom with his 3rd home run of the year. He had 6 last year. And it's a fastball, and Grissom gets on it. It's about belt high. And it turns the game to the flavor of the Montreal EXPOS.
Hits are even at 4. Expos lead 4-3. Gary Carter fouls one back, and he's quickly in the hole 0-2. Expos hit their 8th homer of the year. Grissom has 3 of them. Boy, he's going to be something, that young guy. A combination of awesome speed and big power. Anthony Young, arms folded. Wally Whitehurst is now throwing. Oh, 0-2 to Carter. This one is rocked to left field, and it is off the wall. It sticks between the pads. Gallagher has to dig it out. It's a 2-out double by Carter. He hit it so hard it wouldn't come out.
Well, this ball is embedded into the outfield fence as Carter gets the fastball. And it's a clothesline sticking into the fence between the cracks out there, so to speak. And it would have been interesting if that ball had been high so Gallagher wouldn't be able to reach it. It'd have to go as a grounds rule double.
Jeff Torborg has visited with Charlie Relaford with the pitcher due up first next inning. Anthony Young coming in. Looks like Torborg will make a double switch and get somebody else into that number 9 spot. That somebody else may be a new catcher because, well, Charlie O'Brien has vacated his spot. All the other fielders are still out there. Fernandez is gone nevertheless. And here in the bottom of the 6th, the Expos have taken a 4-3 lead. Here's a word from the New York, the 9X Yellow Pages.
Journey to a region you will never forget. Indonesia. An underwater garden of mystery. A land of enchantment, intrigue, and harmony. Jacques Cousteau explores a symphony of the beauty and wonder on Cousteau's rediscovery of the world. Indonesia, the heart of the sea.
Tonight at 6 on Channel 9.
Well, Anthony Young will take over as the pitcher for the Mets, his first relief appearance. He's 1-0 as a starter with an earned run average of 1.80. His one victory, a complete game, no earned run pitching performance against the St. Louis Cardinals. So Anthony Young taking over. And also coming in, a complete battery change, it is Todd Huntley as the catcher. Huntley will bat ninth in the batting order. Young will bat in the 8th batting position. And we have a pinch hitter coming in. Also a pinch runner. The pinch runner is Eric Bullock. He is running for Carter, and the pinch hitter is Brett Barbary, who will probably stay in the ballgame and take over third base.
He will not get a chance to swing the bat. Mets will put him aboard, putting runners at first and second with 2 down. The pitcher spot is due up, but John Vander Wal is in the on-deck circle. First 2 men retired in the inning via strikeouts by Fernandez, who fanned 10 in less than 6 innings of work. But the walks hurt him, especially the 2-out walk to Tim Wallach in this inning. He's responsible for another run out there. John Vander Wal, an outfielder, will pinch hit. Vander Wal 2 for 8 so far in limited action. He's appeared in 6 ball games. Both of those hits singles. This guy's got some power. Hit 15 home runs at AAA last year and drove home 71. Well hit, but stabbed by Murray to the pitcher. Young covering. And the Expos are gone in the 6th, but they've taken the lead. The walk and the homer, they strand 2. They've left 5. And after 6 innings of play, it's now Montreal 4, New York 3. And here's a word from New Jersey Bell.
Crank it up with actor-director Ken Olin, comedian David Brenner, and singer CeCe Peniston on the Arsenio Hall Weekend Jam.
Tonight at 11 on Channel 9.
Left-hander Jeff Fassero, fastball, slider, forkball pitcher, will take over for Chris Nabholz, who could be the winning pitcher now that his team has taken the lead. Fassero's numbers, an ERA of around 2.5. Has pitched 7 innings so far. He has a new battery mate, Cerrone, after they pinch hit for Carter. And Barbary, who pinch hit for Cianfranco, is over at third base, Brett Barbary. So a lot of changes by the Expos. And a change in the scoreboard as well. Mets have been out hit 5-4, trail 4-3. Todd Huntley batting in the 9th spot will lead off, and Tim McCarver is back.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. Consider the fact that Tom Runnels, the manager for the Expos, used 4 players. That's right, 4 players for one position. Really. Brett Barbary, Eric Bullock, Rick Cerrone, and Ken Vander Wal. Actually 2 spots in the lineup, but 1 position, the catching position. So in a 1-run ball game, that could hurt him if it goes to extra innings or in a tie ball game. It's 4-3 Expos, and Todd Huntley's first appearance of the game. Remember the double switch. Huntley moved into the 9-hole, and Anthony Young, the pitcher who relieved Fernandez, is batting in the 8th spot when Charlie O'Brien left. And a swing and a miss from Huntley. Nothing in 1. We're in the 7th, 4-3 Montreal. Another strike from Fassero. 0-2 to Hundley. Way outside, ball 1, 1-2. Jeff Fassero from Springfield, Illinois. It's Lincoln country. Signed with the Cardinals in '84. Line drive off the glove of Barbary, and Hundley with an infield hit. So Todd Hundley opens the 7th with hit number 5 for the Mets.
The Mets have been getting some good production from catchers offensively lately. Hundley hits the ball well, and Barbary, who just came in, a headlong dive, did well just to make contact as that ball really skipped off the turf.
Sneaky way to say that catchers are offensive.
Some.
Leadoff batter, Willie Randolph. Willie on an error, and he's walked twice, so Randolph has been on 3 consecutive times in this ball game. The rubber game of 3. Mets winning on Friday night 10-2, and Montreal bouncing back to win yesterday 8-6. Montreal has won 4 of 5 in the early going from New York. As a matter of fact, they have matched last year's win total, beating the Mets only 4 times all of last year. Randolph squared to Bunny, takes a strike. Outfield about straight away, moderate depth for Randolph. He does have a home run this year. And that was off the Montreal left-hander, Chris Haney. Squared to bunt again, and he takes high, ball 1, 1-1. Mets took the lead in the 4th inning with 3 runs. Montreal came back with 2 in the 4th, 2 in the 6th. It's 4-3 Montreal. Hundley, a fast runner for a catcher, but not a base stealer. Hit and run could be on here. Randolph handles the bat very well. 1-1 the count. No outs here in the 7th. Hundley not running. Randolph wanted to bunt. It's a foul ball. 1-2 to Willie Randolph.
And with a good runner at first base, Randolph really in his element here, because many times in his career he's been such a good number 2 hitter. Not only because he makes contact, he can move the ball around with Wallach holding his man. There's a lot of hitting room over on that right side, and Randolph was looking toward that side to push the bunt. Schofield and Bonilla to follow.
He gave himself up early, so I think it was a sacrifice. You don't see managers sacrificing and trying to move the runner over to tie when they're on the road. That's the rule of thumb. But maybe Jeff Torborg's looking at the extra men of the Expos. We mentioned the 4 guys, Vanderwall, Barbary, Bullock, and Cerrone, all used. The only 3 extra players that Montreal has. Moises Alou, Darren Fletcher, and Tom Foley. So that could be entering Jeff's thinking now. He's got Anthony Young in the game, so he will go with Young as long as he can. A ball and 2 strikes to Randolph, and the slider foul back, so Willie stays alive. 1-2 to Willie Randolph. Still alive. And so are we, as you're watching Mets Baseball 92 on Channel 9, WWOR-TV, Secaucus, New Jersey. We hope everyone is having a happy Easter and enjoying the holidays. Mets return home tomorrow. Actually, Tuesday. Cardinals move into town. Off day tomorrow. Night games on Tuesday and Wednesday against St. Louis, and a day game on Thursday. Then the Mets go to Philadelphia for the weekend. Inside to Randolph. 2-2 to Willie. Big home run by Marquise Grissom. His third home run of the year, all against Mets pitching.
And a win on the road today. Early in the season, you don't really say it's that big of a deal, but the Pirates are winning 10-0 this afternoon, and the Mets, if they don't win here, would be 5 out already.
Slider way outside. It backed up 3-2. That's right. You don't want a team to run away and hide this early in the season. Take the Kansas City Royals now. They're 8 back of the Oakland Athletics. Kansas City 1-11 in the American League West. Oakland 9-3. Detroit 7 back in the American League East. And obviously it's very early. You don't want to put too much emphasis on numbers, but you also don't want to have too much to make up in the latter part of the season. We'll see if Hundley's running. Nope, not running, and the slider is low. So the Mets with runners at first and second, nobody out, trailing by a run here in the 7th inning.
Let's check out the Macy's National League scoreboard. There's the Pirate lead. They're all over the Phils. Nothing doing in Houston. Cardinals over the Cubs 4-2, trying to earn a split in that shortened series because of rain on Friday. Braves and Dodgers tonight, and the Reds and Giants a little bit later.
Pittsburgh has the biggest winning streak in the major leagues. They had won 5 in a row going into this afternoon's contest at Three Rivers. Here's Dick Schofield. We'll see if Dick is up there to bunt with Bobby Bonilla, Howard Johnson, and Eddie Murray up. Wallach thinks so. He's in at first. Barbary in at third. And Owen went to second base. Fassero threw the pitch. The whole left side of the infield was wide open. So if Schofield had been hitting and rolled one through on the left side, there's nobody there to defend it. And here comes Joe Kerrigan, the pitching coach.
Jeff Fassero, a guy who arrived in Montreal camp last year without a whole lot of fanfare. In fact, he had the dubious distinction of being the first guy to give up a hit to Nick Asaski in spring training. After he was called over from the minor league camp to pitch in that game, the next day the newspaper guys didn't even know him. They called him Ralph in the paper and spelled his last name wrong on top of it. They know who he is now, and he's a left-hander trying to do a job for Kerrigan and Runnels, because if he can, they then with Doug Simons have pretty good balance in their bullpen with the two left-handers. They go with Sampson, a very good Bill Landrum, and a hard-throwing John Wetland from the right side.
Wetland, their number 1 guy. Owen once again over to hold Hundley close to second. I'll tell you, when you play that type of defense, you have to know that the batter is bunting. Owen taking 2 chances. Here it is again.
Now you can see the shortstop right on the bag and about 80 feet of room to the left of Barbary, the third baseman.
A ball and a strike to Dick Schofield. We mentioned Bill Landrum, and there he is. He's warming for Montreal. 4-3 Expos here in the 7th. The Mets threatening with 2 on and nobody out. 5 hits for each side. And this one hit him. Schofield hit by a pitch. He appears to be all right. The pitch appeared to graze his left foot. That ball was almost behind him. The Mets now with the bases loaded and nobody out.
This time, Spike Owen was not going to the bag. And Schofield just had no way. That ball was right at him. And he jumped. It was a glancing blow, fortunately. And now the table is set for the big hitters. And here's where the Mets really have an advantage in the late innings, because with the power hitters, who are all switch hitters, there's not a whole lot an opposing manager can do.
Bonilla, Johnson, and Murray. Hundley at third base, Randolph at second, and Schofield at first. 4-3 Expos. Nobody out for the Mets here in the 7th. Bonilla 0 for 3 on the afternoon. Slider, nice play by Cerrone. A ball and no strikes now to Bobby Bonilla. The Mets have not gotten the ball out of the infield and have loaded them up here in the 7th. An infield hit, a walk, and then Schofield, trying to bunt, was hit by a Fassero fastball. Ground ball toward third. Barbary comes home. Cerrone will hold the ball. 1 out. It would have been interesting, Bob, to see Barbary go to second base. I don't think the ball was hit sharply enough to get a double play.
He had to take it on the short hop. And I think he had his mind made up all the way, Tim. I'm going home in a 1-run ball game. If we can get the follow guy at first base, fine, but let's get the lead man and keep the lead. And when you get that little short hop,
right,
it makes you a little more reluctant to take that double play opportunity.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
If you get a nice big belt high hop, you really have a chance to set your feet before the ball gets there. Not on a play like that.
Here's Howard Johnson. He's 1 for 3 with a run scored. He scored the first run of the ball game in the 4th inning. Bases remain loaded. 1 out here in the 7th. 4-3 Montreal. Grounded by Barbary at third. The Mets are going to take the lead. Bonilla ran into Delino DeShields, and I think it was interference, but he scores anyway. Here comes Johnson, an inside the park grand slam home run for Howard Johnson, and the Mets lead it 7-4. Oh, baby. I say it was a home run right now, and it depends on the scoring of left fielder Marquise Grissom. It could be an error on Grissom, but that doesn't change the scoring. It's 7-4 New York. Calderon, I should say, not Grissom. How about that? One more look. Excuse me, Bob.
Here's the pitch. Looked like a low breaking ball. Ball was rifled into the corner. Calderon goes in to dig it out, and that's got to be an error. He was on the wall waiting for the ball, and it squirted right by him, and 4 runs come home.
And it is scored an error. So it resembled an inside the park home run because 4 runs scored, but it is an error. I would assume 3 RBIs, a double for Howard Johnson, and a 2-base error by Ivan Calderon. And here's Eddie Murray. It's 7-4, Mets on top. I just got excited about the prospects of an inside the park grand slam home run. You don't see that very often.
If Calderon doesn't get to the wall and is waiting for the ball, they might have given the call to the hitter, but the fact that he had played the carom properly and then just let it get away from him. That's why it's a double with 3 runs batted in, and then Johnson scores on the 2-base error.
8 RBIs for Hojo on the season. And Fassero really got himself in trouble with the meat of the order coming up. And here's Ed Karam once again.
See, Calderon is not running to the wall to backhand it. He's facing the corner and obviously in the mind of the scorer in a position to make that play.
3 balls and a strike. Make that 3-2 to Eddie Murray. So I called it a bases loaded inside the park home run, and I guess it was appropriate with that left fielder because I called it wrong.
You sure did.
7-4 Mets. Fly ball right field. Over as Walker. 2 outs.
Let's have a look over the American League where they've had a lot of rain today. Delays in Kansas City and Texas. They finally got started in Milwaukee. Yankees on top again. Boy, Toronto, they are tough in the late innings. Seattle got 4 early ones at Milwaukee. Orioles looking to go over 500. And the Twins and White Sox battling in Chicago, but a lot of rain out in the western part of the Midwest in Kansas City and Texas.
Dave Gallagher, the left fielder. And the more you see Dave Gallagher, the more you realize how good a ball player he is. 6 straight games, he has had at least 1 RBI, and he has 1 today. 1-1 to Dave. Seven to 4 Mets. Howard Johnson with a booming double with the bases loaded, and Hojo scored on an error by Calderon, and Ivan will be tested again. Playing this one very timidly.
Man, that one not hit nearly as hard. You've got to have players over 162 game, 6-month season who can A, accept their role as a part-time player, and then B, have the ability to excel in that role. It's probably one of the toughest things to do in baseball. And Gallagher has fit that role beautifully so far.
He fills the role for A and B. So Bill Landrum enters the game at 7-4 New York. 2 outs here in the 7th with a runner on second. And we'll be right back after this word from Coca-Cola Classic.
The last 3 years, Bill Landrum, very good bullpen pitcher for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let go, angry about it during spring training, claiming it was all due to money. Expos jumped all over him, and here he is. He supposedly will serve as the right-handed setup man for hard-throwing John Wetland, but this guy had as many as 26 saves for the Pirates 3 years ago. 17 led them last year, and he's on here to pitch in the 7th inning after a disastrous 2/3 for Jeff Fassero.
When Landrum was released, and there's a score, when he was released this spring by the Pirates, he was making $1.7 million. And the Pirates, by releasing him at that point, as Dave Magaden will be walked intentionally, Pirates were liable for 1/4 of his salary. And he is appealing that through the Players Association, saying that he was healthy and ready to pitch, and he was released. Of course, I guess a ball club could always say, hey, we didn't think he'd be effective, regardless of what he did last year. Their determination that they didn't think he would be effective. So that would be a tough thing to win, I would think, for Landrum.
Yeah, people I've talked to think he has no chance.
Yeah.
Ball club could say, hey, he didn't fit into our plans.
Sure, sure.
And as far as I know, a general manager's plan has never been ripped up in court. Maybe in the papers, but never in the courtroom.
Anthony Young's first at bat, and if he can hang on, he will be the winning pitcher. Sid Fernandez off the hook, 7-4 Mets. They have struck for 4 here in the 7th. Fly ball, center field, and Marquise Grissom back, and he makes the play. But the Mets bat around in the 7th inning, scoring 4 times on only 3 hits. Big hit, a bases loaded double That plated 4 for Howard Johnson. That's right, 4 on the error by Calderon. We'll be right back right after this message.
Hi kids, I'm Jeff Tolborg, and if you're under 14 and a Mets fan, be sure to sign up for the Modell's Team Mets Club. Members receive special items including a Team Mets batting glove. You can sign up at any Modell's sporting goods store. Call 1-800-ASK-MODELL for locations near you, or send a $7 check or money order payable to the New York Mets to this address. Please include your name, address, telephone number, and age, and allow 6 to 8 weeks for delivery. This season, your Team Mets Club membership card gets you a 10% discount on your purchase at Modell's, so join now.
Fans, Mother's Day is Sunday, May 10th, and if you treat Mom to a Mets game, Mama Leone's will treat her to dinner. All women 15 and over attending the 140 game against the Dodgers will receive a $25 gift certificate good for dinner at the famous Mama Leone's restaurant located at 261 West 44th Street in Manhattan. Call Ticketmaster at 212-307-METS to charge tickets by phone, or you can call 718-507-TIXX for more information. The 1992 Mets hardball is back. And it was back in the 7th inning when Howard Johnson got the bases loaded double. He was credited with 3 RBIs, and on the boot by Ivan Calderon, he scored, clearing the bases at 7-4, New York. Delino DeShields swings and misses. DeShields has struck out twice and flied to deep right. He's 0 for 3. This one hit hard to right center, but Bonilla is there, and it looked like he had trouble with the lights, but he makes the catch. 1 away.
There are really 3 separate banks of lights here. A lower bank at the bottom of the upper deck, then a second bank that hangs underneath the roof, and then there you see up on top the third bank of lights right under the artificial roof. And hard to say which one Bobby was battling, but the ball got right into one of them.
Spike Owen batting left-handed, of course, against the right-handed Young, and he takes a strike. 7-7-1 for the Mets, 4-5-3 for the Expos. Spike Owen 0 for 2. He walked, stole a base in the first. Outside, ball 1, 1-1. A slider hit foul, 1-2. Walking around town this morning, Bob, and talking to a few people and talking to the guys who keep the pulse of the concierges and the bellmen of the city. They say that there has been a rejuvenated interest here in Montreal for their ball club. This one hit to deep left, and Gallagher with a nice play, 2 outs. And it's kind of nice to see. I mean, a couple of years ago, there was talk about Montreal maybe moving to Buffalo. Charles Bronfman selling the club. And after the interest shown in this town for this club in the late 70s and middle 80s, be ashamed to see all that work go to waste as Calderon takes ball 1.
Well, I'm sure bringing Gary Carter back had a lot to do with it. But this team has a lot of outstanding young players. DeShields, Grissom,
Barbary. Deep to center, and Hojo makes the play.
And the guy who will lead off next inning, Larry Walker.
Still 7-4, New York. We go to the 8th right after this from your Tri-State Toyota dealer.
Doug Simons, who was rocked here on Friday night, thus the 108 ERA.
Looks like a good day on Wall Street.
Not in Tokyo, though. Simons, 4 runs, 2 hits in a third of an inning. He also hit a batter the other night as the Mets romped. That's a foul ball to start the inning off. 10-2 Friday night.
We apologize for the loss of video back in the bottom of the 7th inning, as Doug Simons, formerly with the Mets, is on the mound here in the top of the 8th inning. And the first pitch to Todd Hundley is fouled off down the third baseline. Todd vying for another infield hit. He started off the 7th inning with an infield hit. Then Willie Randolph walked. Dick Schofield was hit by a pitch. That loaded them up with the bases loaded. And after a Bonilla out, Howard Johnson cleared the bases with a double, scoring on an error by Ivan Calderon. The wind-up, the pitch to Hundley is a strike, so it's 0-2 to Todd Hundley. The pump and the deal, 1-2 to Hundley. I've always wanted to do this. I've never done play-by-play on radio, so without the video, that gives me a chance, right?
I'm just here to listen. We are critiquing, though.
The 1-2 pitch just misses to Todd. I can say anything I want now, right? You can't see the picture. This is fun.
I'll tell him if it's wrong, though, when we get our picture back. You're going to be held accountable by somebody.
2-2 to Hundley. Ball 3. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Todd Hundley. As Bob Uecker would say in the movie Major League, just a bit inside. Fly ball down the right field line. Larry Walker, the right fielder, over near the line, and it's foul about 10 rows back. Still 3 balls and 2 strikes to Todd Hundley. The Mets took the lead in this game with 3 runs in the 4th inning off starter Chris Nabholz. Montreal came back with 2 in the 4th off Sid Fernandez, the Mets starter, and then a 2-run homer by Marquise Grissom in the bottom of the 6th inning plated 2 more. But it's the Mets 7 and Montreal 4 here in the 8th. Line drive foul back in the stand. Still 3 balls and 2 strikes to Todd Hundley, the Mets catcher. Doug Simons appeared in 42 games for New York last year. He spent the entire year with the Mets. He was 2-3 in those 42 games. As Hundley fouls it back again, still 3-2 to Todd Hundley. Once again, we apologize for the loss of video. We are in Montreal, the rubber game of a 3-game series, and the Mets head back to New York tonight as Hundley lifts one to deep center field, and Marquise Grissom is back, and this ball is gone. Home run, Todd Hundley. He hit it a ton. 8-4 New York.
We're talking way over the 400-foot range here. Hundley took it out to left center, about halfway between the 375 and 404 mark, and it was a good 40 or 50 feet behind the wall. Marquise Grissom took about 2 steps, and he just watched it. And the second Major League home run for Todd Hundley will definitely be one to remember.
Willie Randolph now the batter. So Todd Hundley coming in a double switch in the 7th inning, where Charlie O'Brien is now 2 for 2 with his second Major League homer. And a swing and a miss by Willie Randolph. 1-1 to Willie.
So he goes from 143 to 250 with 2 swings here today. And the Mets have also found out that Charlie O'Brien can be a reliable backup defensively and now offensively. So catching situation maybe looking a little better than it did a couple days ago when the Mets knew Hundley had the flu and could not go for a while. And Charlie O'Brien, who's never really hit that much, about to start a couple games. They've both done the job second half of this week.
That's an interesting point because it's very difficult to develop talent and still win, and that's what the Mets were forced to do with Todd Hundley. Going to be a fine young catcher, but obviously inexperienced. But the Mets in a situation, the highest paid team in baseball, the expectations are great. So there are, not that any team doesn't try to win, but there are teams that try to develop in the big leagues more than got to crawl before you can walk. As Willie Randolph is back to the dugout, he broke his bat on that foul ball. 2-2 to Willie.
Well, Ralph and I were talking about that a little bit on Friday night, and one ball club that is certainly doing that right now would have to be the California Angels over the American League with Whitey Herzog, the former Mets scout, an outstanding evaluator of talent, and they are taking some young players and saying, here's your chance to develop. Only thing is, you're going to be doing it in Anaheim on the major league level. And can they win doing that? Probably not. But somewhere down the road, they'll be better for it.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Randolph. Nobody out here in the 8th. 8-4, New York on top. And Willie swings and fouls it back. Still 2-2. Doug Simons on the mound. He is the 4th Montreal pitcher. They started with Chris Nabholz. They went to Jeff Fassero, and Bill Landrum got Fassero out of the 7th. Simons here in the 8th. Fork ball is low to Randolph. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Willie. Another one fouled off by Willie Randolph. Still 3-2, and once again we apologize for the loss of your picture at home. Terrible to lose a picture anytime, but especially on Easter Sunday. Three and 2 to Willie Randolph. Line drive, base hit, right center. Grissom, the center fielder, cuts it off. He throws it back into second, so Willie Randolph has his first hit and hit number 9 for New York on the afternoon.
Those 9 hits have only come in 3 different innings. 4 of them in the 4th when they scored 3. And we hope you have the picture back now of what's happening here in Montreal. 3 more in the 7th when they scored 4 times. And then a couple of hits together here in the 8th inning. So they waited a while, but the Mets are making plenty of noise now.
Dick Schofield, who was hit by a pitch his last at bat, is the batter with runners at first and second. The last time up, Dick Schofield hit by a pitch that loaded them up with nobody out. And then Howard Johnson hit the double that drove in 3, and Johnson himself scored on the error by Calderon. 0-1 to Schofield. Fork ball low, 1-1. Todd Hundley opened this inning with his second major league homer.
Looked like a fastball, belt high, inner half, and see you later. Grissom just trotting, and you can see where that one comes down, way beyond the wall.
Fork ball is low, 2 balls and a strike to Todd. He crushed that ball.
The sounds of baseball are different here than they are at other ballparks.
True.
And you don't always get a sense of how well a ball is hit. But when I saw Grissom looking up and trotting, you had an idea it was out of here by a long shot. Although it may not have told us that off the bat.
By a long shot, appropriate term for that ball. 3 balls and 1 strike to Dick Schofield. Randolph at first, nobody out here in the top of the 8th. 8-4 New York. There goes Randolph. The pitch is high, and Schofield walks. So Doug Simons, who had a horrible outing on Friday night, line drives all over the place by the Mets, a game in which the Mets won 10-2, is being greeted rudely once again. And he looks back on the 1992 Easter weekend. He will not have pleasant thoughts as Bill Sampson is up throwing for Montreal. Bobby Bonilla now the batter.
Things weren't much prettier for Sampson the other night either. He was walking hitters all over the place. Not often you have 2 laughers in one series, but this one is turning into another one.
As Bonilla singles to left field and Randolph scores. It's now 9-4 New York. This is like the top 40 on Saturday morning. The hits keep right on coming. Bonilla's first hit and RBI number 11 on the season.
He had been 0 for 4. He got a pitch down low, and he turned on it. Calderon had to shift to his left. No chance. Willie Randolph runs well. And now it's a 2-run inning. And Simon's going to be left out there to face a guy who broke this game open 1 inning ago.
Howard Johnson, RBIs number 6, 7, and 8 for Hojo. With the bases loaded and 1 out, he doubled between Brett Barbary, the third baseman, and the bag. 3 runs scored, and then when Howard saw Ivan Calderon miss the ball, he was waved home by third base coach Mike Cubbage, clearing the bases. That made it 7-4. 2 more here in the 8th. Still nobody out. 2 on. And here comes the manager, Tom Runnels. Runnels will no doubt make home plate umpire Charlie Relaford come to the mound, and we'll see if he will make a move. Howard Johnson, a better left-handed hitter than right-handed hitter, and that's what Runnels did. He made Relaford come out there, and now he makes the move. The reason managers do that is to give the pitchers a chance to warm up. 9-4 New York with 2 on and nobody out here in the 8th inning. Bill Sampson, the 5th Montreal pitcher in the game, and we will return to see how he does after this from Budweiser.
29-year-old Bill Sampson on for the Expos, their 5th pitcher of the day, the 4th they've employed in just the last 2 innings. Sampson appearing in his 6th ball game this year, 8 2/3 so far. Got knocked around a little bit on Friday night, at least when Mets hitters were swinging. He walked 3, gave up a hit and a run in less than 2 innings of work.
Howard Johnson 2 for 4, 3 RBIs and a run scored, and Hojo lifts one down the right field line. That's in there for a hit. 1 run scores. Here comes Bonilla. He's going to score. It's 11-4 New York. So Howard Johnson with 5 RBIs in his last 2 at-bats, and the Mets lead it 11-4.
Fastball slider pitcher is Sampson. That was a fastball that was sinking down and away, and Howard went out and pulled it right down the line. Easily scoring was Schofield. Bobby Bonilla had to hustle to get around from first base. All 4 runs charged to Simons, who did not retire a hitter.
A rough outing again for Doug Simons as Eddie Murray fouls it back. Eddie is 1 for 4 on the afternoon. Inside, ball 1. 1-1 to Eddie Murray. Murray has driven in 10 runs in his last 4 ball games. Low with the splitter, 2-1. Two balls and a strike to Eddie Murray. Still nobody out here in the 8th inning. Ball 3, 3-1. 3 balls, 1 strike to Eddie Murray. Johnson at second, 11-4 New York. And Murray walks. So Sampson comes in. He gives up a double to Howard Johnson on the first pitch and now walks Eddie Murray.
Let's have a look at our Nobody Beats the Wiz game summary, and now it's a question of big hitting by the Mets. Howard Johnson ties his career high with the 5 RBIs, did it in Chicago 2 years ago. Gallagher again, big off the bench, helping out the cause.
This time Gallagher grounds to third. The pivot by DeShields nicely at second, 2 outs. A nicely turned double play by Barbary and Delano DeShields, the second baseman, as Johnson stops at third.
So Gallagher unsuccessful that time, but he has helped. Came in late and made a big impact. Marquise Grissom has, of course, for the Expos. His homer put them on top 4-3, but that was a lot of runs ago.
That was when, the score was 4-3. That's right, when the 2-run homer by Grissom off Sid Fernandez in the 6th. But the Mets since that time have scored 4 in the 7th and 4 in the 8th and lead it 11-4. 0-1 to Dave Magaden.
And that's our Nobody Beats the Wiz game summary, which could be subtitled Nobody from the Expos bullpen stops the Mets right now.
Another one fouled away. 0-2 now to Dave Magaden. As Dave breaks his bat. New lumber for Magaden. Well, the Cardinals come to Shea on Tuesday night, an off day tomorrow. 7:40 games on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday afternoon at 1:40. Then the Mets go to Philadelphia for the weekend, and often when the Mets play in Philadelphia, you have quite a few Mets fans that journey down the New Jersey Turnpike, about 110 miles or so. See the Mets play. See a lot of blue and orange in the stands when they play the Phillies, along with the Crimsons, of course, crimson color of Philadelphia. I think Magaden went too far. Yep, Charlie Relaford says yes, sir. But the Mets strike for 4 more runs and lead 11-4, middle of the 8th. We'll be back after this from Macy's.
Well, the Mets coming up with 8 runs in the last 2 innings now, leading by a score of 11-4. And a chance to pick up the rubber game of this 3-game set with the Montreal EXPOS. And for Montreal here in the bottom of the 8th inning, it'll be Larry Walker that'll lead it off. Anthony Young in relief of Sid Fernandez on the mound, a chance to get his second victory, his first relief appearance this year. And he starts off with a breaking ball and gets a half swing for strike 1. Walker in this game has walked, singled, and struck out 1 for 2. Drove in a run in the 4th inning when he singled, and then later on scored in the 4th. Montreal coming back with 2 runs in the 6th inning to take a lead by a score of 4-3, but then the Mets coming back with 8 runs in the last 2 innings. Anthony Young able to be used in relief with the Mets having a couple of off days for a change. And the ball cued off the bat. Strike 2 the count. Walker back to get another piece of wood as he evidently broke that bat as he hit it right off the end.
Yeah, it looked like right at the top of the barrel, Ralph. And there's a little sliver of wood laying down near the on-deck circle. Evidently just one little grain of that thing popped off as he hit it right at the end of the stick.
Nowadays, with the lighter bats being used by players, you see a lot of that checking and the hitting surface splintering off as Walker grounds it out to the first base side. Eddie Murray makes the play, 1 away. That'll bring up Tim Wallach. Wallach 0 for 1. He drove in a run with a sac fly in the 4th inning. Also walked in and scored in the 6th. He needs 11 hits to tie Tim Raids for the all-time lead in base hits by a Montreal player. Raines, of course, traded off to the White Sox for Ivan Calderon. 1 ball, no strikes to Walker. And this one kind of golfed into the Mets dugout, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Wallach with that peculiar swing. He has a left-hander's type swing. Has that hitch in his swing, dropping the bat down more like a left-hand batter would do. Seldom see a right-hander do that, and he hit that on the line, but it's caught as Schofield makes the play of the line drive, out number 2. The family of Budweiser beers is proud of all the friendships they've helped make. So when they remind you to know when to say when, it's all in the name of friendship. 2 men away, and that'll bring up Marquise Grissom, whose 2-run home run in the 6th inning. Now Sid Fernandez gave the lead to Montreal temporarily. And Marquise takes the first pitch of fastball for ball 1. Marquise now has had 3 home runs this year. They've all been against the Mets. And a ground ball to third and on through as Magaden goes down, doesn't get down low enough. And we'll see how it's scored. An error will be charged to Dave Magaden, the third baseman.
He made the backhand choice right there. Simply didn't get down. Not even sure he made contact. Ball was sharply hit. They always teach you fundamentally to get in front of the ball. On AstroTurf, the decision time is a little quicker, but he chose to go backhand.
So the Mets make their second error, and this ball hit down to third. This one foul. Strike 1. Montreal has made 3 errors. Montreal with 19 errors already. As Rick Cerrone bats for the first time. Cerrone, of course, played for the Mets last year. And he takes that pitch for ball 1. 1 ball and 1 strike. So far this year, 1 for 4. And this ball hit in the air to left field. A routine play for Gallagher. And that will end the inning. No runs, no hits, 1 error, 1 left. The score at the end of 8. The New York Mets on top by a score of 11-4. And now here's a word from Pro Step.
This copyrighted telecast authorized under television rights granted by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, LP, solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, or use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of Sterling Doubleday Enterprises, LP, and WWOR-TV is prohibited. Any commercial or other use of the program, such as by charging admission for its showing, is likewise prohibited.
And the first pitch as we go to the top of the 9th inning. Anthony Young, the batter, swung on a missed, strike 1. Young has batted once and has flied out to center field. Bill Sampson on the mound for Montreal. The 5th pitcher used by the Expos, and that pitch a ball, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Mets leading by a score of 11-4. They never scored 11 runs all last year. Their highest was 10. They did that 3 times in 1991. Last time they scored 11 runs in a ball game was in 1990. One and 2, the count to Anthony Young. Stands to be the winner in the ball game, his first relief appearance, and the hard slider for a ball. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Pitcher on the losing side, Jeff Fassero, who came in the game in relief, had a lead of 4-3. And a fastball hit the right field. Walker, the right fielder, 1 away. That'll bring up Todd Huntley, who has had 2 hits and 2 at-bats. He started both of the 4-run rallies for the New York Mets. In the 7th inning, he led off with a single, and in the 8th inning, he led off with a home run. And Todd Huntley will be our special guest on Kindness Corner immediately following the ball game. That home run that Huntley hit from the right-hand side, his first in the major leagues, and it was a landmarker. Chop that one up into singles, you'd have a good month.
I don't think they have a tail of the tape here, Ralph, but if they did, they'd probably flash about 440 feet for that one. It cleared the wall by a bunch.
Might even be in meters.
Probably be about 130, 35 meters, right?
That's about it, I would think, as that pitch puts the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Huntley with 2 home runs now in his major league career. And Sampson back with a fastball. 1-2 the count. Bill Sampson's next pitch, the curve gets him, and 2 men away. Sampson gets his 2nd strikeout, working his 2nd inning. And that'll bring up Willie Randolph, who has a base hit and 2 at-bats. He also has walked 3 times. Randolph singled in the 8th inning. He has scored twice, and the first pitch, a fastball for a called strike. Tuesday night, it'll be Doc Gooden going for the Mets. Wednesday night, it'll be David Cohn, and Thursday afternoon, Brett Saberhagen, the Mets' top 3 pitchers. One ball, 1 strike, the count to Randolph. And the curveball hit in the air to right center field, easing over his Grissom. And the Mets go in order. The score at the end of 8.5 innings, it's the Mets 11, the Montreal Expos 4. Now here's a word from Chemical. Rodney McRae will take over in right field for the Mets. Bobby Bonilla going out. McRae brought up from Tidewater. As we go to the bottom of the 9th inning, and Montreal batting, trailing by a score of 11-4. Anthony Young in relief. Throws his first pitch for ball 1 as he works to Brett Barberie. Barberie, a pinch hitter, was walked intentionally his first time up, and that pitch for ball 2. And ball 3. Barberie hitting .273 for the year. He has no home runs, 1 run batted in, and a 3-0 pitch, ball 4. So Barberie walks on 4 pitches as he leads off here in the bottom of the 9th inning. Now we're going to have a pinch hitter. It'll be Tom Foley. Lou and Fletcher now, the only regular players left on the bench for Tom Reynolds, as Foley pinch hits, hitting 111. Barberie not being held on at first base, and the first pitch, ball 1. 5 in a row out of the strike zone as Anthony Young works here in the 9th inning, leading by 7. Another ball for ball 2, 6 in a row out of the strike zone. Sid Fernandez, the starting pitcher, went 5 2/3, left the ball game after a 2-run home run put him behind 4-3. So Anthony Young a chance to pick up the victory, coming in relief as the Mets came back and now lead by a score of 11-4. Action in the bullpen for the Mets in spite of a 7-run lead, and another one out of the strike zone. That's 7 in a row. As you start the final inning with a 7-run lead, you can't throw a strike.
Jeff Torborg had John Franco up at the start of the inning.
There's a strike.
Sort of unusual to think that Torborg and Stottlemyre would have to use Franco in a game where you're leading by 7 runs. But there's an off day tomorrow.
And another strike, and it's 3-2.
That's why Young's out there to begin with, and things probably won't go on too long before Jeff would make the move, since Franco would be fresh for the Cardinals on Tuesday to Wednesday and Thursday anyway.
Fouled it off, so the count stays at 3-2. Franco hasn't done a lot of work so far this year. The Mets have either been way ahead or way behind.
Well, he's pitched in 3 of the first 12 ball games, Ralph.
Also throwing the former Expo Tim Burke. Again, the 3-2 pitch is lined to center field. Johnson, a good jump. He makes the play. Barbary back to first base, 1 away. That'll bring up Delano DeShields, who is 0 for 4. He's hit the ball well twice with no good results. Expos with 4 runs on just 5 hits. Young has yet to give up a base hit since coming in the ball game, and the first pitch, ball 1. Fouled it off, 1 ball and 1 strike. Checked on, and another ball call, so they got 2-1.
Now we know where Franco got that left-handed catcher's mitt, Ralph. One of the bullpen catchers here in Montreal is a left-hander.
This ball lined to left center. It'll be a base hit, an extra base hit. Barbary coming around third base is being waved on in, and going to third base is DeShields, and he goes in safely. So a 3-base hit. And the Expos get a run, and they now trail by a score of 11-5. DeShields gets his 3rd RBI of the year.
DeShields 1 for 5 now. He got a fastball down and away. Howard Johnson had designs on cutting it off, and he could not outrun the ball. By the time Gallagher helped out, Barbary scored easily, and DeShields, who can fly, was into third easily.
So now a runner at third and 1 out, and the batter is Spike Owen. He takes ball 1. So Young struggling here in his 9th inning. One and 1 the count. 0-0 for 3 in the game. He has walked, and he also has a stolen base. Mets have their infield back. They're willing to give up a run, and they will give one up here as Owen flies out to right field. McCray makes the catch for the 2nd out of the inning, and DeShields scores. So it's now 11-6 in favor of the Mets, but the Expos are down to their last out. And the batter, Ivan Calderon. Calderon 1 for 4 in the game, doubled in the 4th inning and scored. His only base hit, and the first pitch by Young, a fastball for ball 1. Ground ball to third, and that should do it. Magaden over to first base to Murray, and the Mets have won it. So the Expos with 2 runs in the 9th inning on 1 hit. And the Mets will win it by a score of 11-6. Mets coming from behind, trailing 1.4-3, but then scoring 4 runs in the 7th, 4 in the 8th, and winning the ball game by a score of 11-6. The winning pitcher, Anthony Young, he's now 2-0 in the year. The loser was Jeff Fassero. And once again, the final score of the Mets 11, the Expos 6, and we'll be back for the recap right after this word from Bud Light.
Well, the Mets won it by a score of 11-6, and a good comeback victory for the Mets. And the Mets now have not lost a ball game this year when they have scored the first run of the ball game. But at one point, they were out in front and lost the lead, but came back to win it with 2 big innings.
Well, when you look at the starting pitcher, Ralph, sort of a shame for Sid Fernandez that with the knowledge that the ball club would hit the ball so well late in the game that he couldn't stick around long enough to get the win. But Anthony Young did. And nice to see the bats come alive, especially Howard Johnson, who's been struggling and matches a career high with the 5 RBIs today.
And the big one, of course, was the bases loaded double that was turned into a 4-run inning for the New York Mets when he came in to score after the error by Calderon on the balls that rolled off around the wall. So the Mets coming back to win the ball game. And again, for Sid, it was sort of one of his typical games, a very strong outing as a pitcher, 10 strikeouts. But he gave up the 2-run home run that saw him lose his advantage in the game and leave the game on the losing end of the game.
And as has happened before, it came after a 2-out walk when he had fanned the first 2 hitters of the inning. 10 strikeouts in the game, and it just goes to show how baseball is such a complicated thing in the pitching department, where having the stuff to blow hitters away isn't the same necessarily as getting hitters out and winning ball games.
Getting them out at the right time, and they couldn't get Howard Johnson out at the right time as Howard Johnson against Jeff Fassero doubles down the left field line. The bases are loaded. Bonilla had just grounded out for the first out of the inning, and the ball going by Calderon there, and Johnson able to come around and score behind the 3 runners that score on his RBIs. So the Mets taking the lead here as Johnson came through with a big double with the bases loaded. He later on doubled again to drive in 2 more runs and 5 for his high, tying his high, as you mentioned. And so that's the way it looked for the Mets, and they have won the series 2 out of 3.
A day off tomorrow. Cardinals come into Shea. Night games on Tuesday and Wednesday, and a day game on Thursday. So they take 2 of 3 from the team that swept them a week ago at Shea Stadium. Mets baseball 92. With an 11-6 win today, has been brought to you by Anheuser-Busch. Friends know when to say when. By your Lincoln Mercury dealers. By the 9X Yellow Pages. If it's out there, it's in here. By Chemical, intellectual currency, capital strength. By Mobile, drive your engine clean with Mobile Super Unleaded Plus. By Coca-Cola, be sure to stock up for all your Mets games with Coca-Cola Classic. Can't beat the real thing. And by Las Vegas, always on the money. Be with us again Tuesday evening, 7:30, when the Mets will face the Cardinals, opener of a 3-game series at Shea. And now stay tuned for Kiner's Corner. Ralph's guest will be catcher Todd Hundley, a home run hitter today. Mets Baseball 92, produced and directed by Jeff Mitchell. Our associate producer, Steve Olbaum. The announcers on the preceding telecast approved and contracted for by Sterling Doubleday Enterprises. Our executive producer, Rick Miner. And this has been a presentation of WWOR-TV Channel 9 Sports.
Budweiser, the king of beers, presents Kiner's Corner in its 30th anniversary season. Kiner's Corner is brought to you by Budweiser, the king of beers, with that clean, crisp, cold taste. Nothing beats a Bud. By Mitsubishi, bringing you a full line of award-winning automobiles. Mitsubishi, the word is getting around. And by Snapple Natural Beverages, made from the best stuff on earth. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to Kiner's Corner here in Montreal. And we have as our special guest in the program, Todd Huntley, who hasn't been well lately, but he certainly got well here today as he had a couple of big hits for the New York Mets as the Mets won it by a score of 11-6. And Todd, you haven't been playing because you've been under the weather with the bug, and you finally got back in action, and you started a big rally for the Mets that saw them come back to win the ball game, scoring 4 runs when you started that rally with a base hit.
Yeah, Ralph, I have been under the weather. I've had the flu for about a week now. I started to feel better the last couple days, and yeah, it feels good to get back in the lineup.
One of the things that happened here today, you hit very well from the right-hand side of the plate against left-hand pitching. Of course, you've been really noted more for being a better left-hand batter. Is that really a true recognition of your talent?
Well, I think the average from the left side might be better. I feel good hitting from the right side now, and it's just a matter of getting the at bats from either side, and the feeling at the plate will come.
Well, it certainly did come your next time up in the 8th inning when you led off the inning in this ball. Your first home run as a right-hand batter, your second in the major leagues, and there was no doubt about it.
Well, it felt good when I hit it, Ralph. It was to the deep center, and it felt good when I hit it. But, I haven't had many at-bats, so I just ran as hard as I could.
Well, you don't have to run very hard there. The home run coming off a former teammate, Doug Simons. And Doug now has an earned run average of 216. That's 216.00, and you helped contribute to that.
Wow, I didn't know that, Ralph. Doug is, he's a great guy and a good friend, but, when you get between the lines, you're competing.
What happens now when you get back to New York? Does your father, Randy Huntley, who was a great major league catcher, give you a call and tell you about what went on? Does he watch the games on television?
As much as he can, Ralph. He gets to see the games. I don't know. I don't know if he is going to call me or not. I'll probably talk to him within the next couple of days.
How many home runs you behind your dad now?
A lot, I believe.
Yeah, I think so. A few, because he could hit that ball well, too. And Todd, a good game today. You came in the ball game and caught the latter part of the ball game, catching Anthony Young. He gave up only 1 hit. And Young in relief, winning his second game of the year, and you called the pitches.
Thank you, Ralph.
It's a win for the New York Mets, and Todd Huntley certainly contributed into that win with a 2-for-2 day and a home run. And Todd, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Ralph.
We'll be right back after this message from Mitsubishi. Well, the Mets won it by a score of 11-6. It was all Easter eggs on the scoreboard until the 4th inning. There had been 7 walks, but no base hits, and then Johnson led off the 4th inning with infield base hit, followed by Eddie Murray's single, and then Murray was picked off at first base with the first out. Here is Gallagher with an RBI double down the left field line to score Johnson from third. The Mets take the lead 1-0. The Mets have not lost this year when they've had the lead in the ball game from the start. And now it's Magaden coming up with a single here to score Gallagher, and it makes it a 2-0 ball game for the New York Mets. Magaden with that RBI, picking up his second RBI of the year. Gallagher scoring. And then Magaden scores on the air here on the bouncing ball, the ball thrown away. Magaden comes in to score, and the Mets lead by a score of 3-0. In the bottom of the 4th inning, Walker comes up with an RBI single off the fastball thrown by Sid Fernandez. It scores Calderon, and it makes it a 3-1 ball game. And now Wallach going all the way around, Walker going all the way around to third in the play and gets in safely, and he scores on the sac fly by Wallach, and that makes it a 3-2 game in favor of the New York Mets. So with a score at 3-2 in favor of the Mets, Grissom hits a 2-run home run, and it puts the Montreal EXPOS up by a score of 4-3. It scores Wallach, who had walked, and Sid Fernandez now on the losing side of the ball game. He had struck out 10 batters to this point and had struck out the 2 previous batters before the home run to Grissom. Grissom now with 3 home runs against the Mets. Hojo, though, with a bases-clearing double, and it gets by the left fielder Calderon, and Hojo comes in to score on the air, and the Mets get 4 runs right here to get back in the lead, and they lead by a score of 7-4. Howard Johnson with 3 RBIs, and then Todd Huntley with a home run, his first as a New York Mets player from the right-hand side, his first this year, and his second in his major league career, and that Mets now lead by a score of 8-4. They went on to win it by a score of 11-6 as Anthony Young picked up the victory in relief of Sid Fernandez. The Mets with a comeback victory, and when they have scored the first run of the ballgame, the Mets now have a record of 6-0, and they have won the series against Montreal, winning 2 of the 3 ball games. We'll be back after this word from Snapple. Well, the Mets won it here by a score of 11-6, and a lot of Easter eggs on that scoreboard as we check out the Mitsubishi National League scoreboard. Pittsburgh defeated Philadelphia by a score of 11-0. Walk started that game, but didn't get credit for it as he left before completing 5 innings of work. Pittsburgh now has won 6 in a row. Their record now stands at 9-2. And no score, San Diego and Houston, that game in the bottom of the 11th inning. St. Louis defeated Chicago by a score of 4-3. St. Louis 3.5 games back of the winning Pittsburgh Pirates, and they stay in third place, tied with Montreal. And also Atlanta playing against the Dodgers later on. That's a night game in L.A. And San Francisco leading Cincinnati by a score of 7-0 that game in the top of the 5th inning. Checking out the American League scoreboard, the Mitsubishi American League scoreboard. Yankees defeated Cleveland by a score of 5-3. Boston over Toronto by a score of 5-4. Toronto's third loss, they had won 10. And it's Seattle 9 and Milwaukee 8, that game in the bottom of the 6th inning. Baltimore defeated Detroit 3-2. And it's Chicago, the White Sox over Minnesota 4-1. California scheduled to play in Kansas City. That game rained out, and Texas leading Oakland by a score of 3-2. And that game in the bottom of the 4th inning. So that's the Mitsubishi scoreboard. We'll be back right after this message from Budweiser. Well, the Mets won it by a score of 11-6. The Snapple turning point of the ball game, with the Mets trailing 4-3. Howard Johnson with the bases loaded, doubles down the left field line. 3 runs come in to score, and when the ball gets away from Calderon in left field, Johnson comes in to score, and the Mets take the lead by a score of 7-3. They added 4 more in the 8th inning and won it by a score of 11-6. So our Snapple turning point of the ball game, the double by Howard Johnson. He had 5 RBIs in the ball game. And the sharp pitcher of the year, you probably wondered who it was in 1991, and it is Doc Gooden. So Doc Gooden, the sharp pitcher of the year of 1991. And here's Doc with Sharp's Tom Borgano, and he's being presented the award for being the pitcher of the year. Congratulations to Doc Gooden. So the Mets have won it by a score of 11-6, and we'll be right back after this message from Mitsubishi. Well, a week ahead for the New York Mets. Big schedule with the Cardinals and the Philadelphia Phillies. The Mets will have tomorrow as an off day. Then Tuesday night, it'll be the Mets against St. Louis. It'll be Doc Gooden on the mound Tuesday night. We'll be doing that game here on WWOR-TV. Then Wednesday night, the second game of that series, and Thursday afternoon, then the Mets go down to Philadelphia, and they'll play a 3-game series with the Philadelphia Phillies Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Saturday and Sunday will be on WWOR-TV, so we hope you can be with us then. So once again, the final score.